Chapter 11. Mission complete. So let me get this straight, the Sandaime Hokage said as he lay his pipe down on the table. You want me to forge a whole slew of documents about how we hired an ex-Kiri shinobi and his student, who nearly killed you, may I add, just so we can get them into our village as our own and avoid a war with Kurigakure. Yes, that is a most youthful explanation, Hokage-sama. Zabuza wanted to slap himself in the face. The only reason he didn't was the urge to slap Might Guy in the face was much more powerful at the moment. Too bad he wouldn't be winning any favors by doing that. Not that he seemed to have a chance in hell to begin with. Okay, that shouldn't be too difficult. Zabuza's jaw would have hit the ground if his face wasn't wrapped in its usual bandage. Now, to work out where. Wait. Zabuza waved his arms frantically. The Hokage stopped and took him into regard. Just like that. Did you even listen to yourself? Did you even listen to him? Zabuza gestured broadly at Guy. How could you possibly accept us just like that? The Hokage fiddled with his pipe as he thought how to answer Zabuza's questions. You clearly are not bad people. Misguided. Yes, but not bad. I think you could learn a lot from Konoha, and a lot from this team. The Sandaime gestured to the 4 Konoha shinobi in front of him. Zabuza glanced briefly at the green team. He then stole a glance at Haku. The boys seemed to be trembling from excitement. Zabuza had to restrain a sigh. He bowed to the old man. We are in your debt, Hokage-sama. The Hokage laughed. No, none of that debt stuff. Instead, let us focus on things such as your shinobi ranks. I think Jonin and Genin would work out for you too. The Hokage gestured to Zabuza and Haku respectively. Zabuza's mind froze for a second. Jonin. Already. He couldn't really complain, but still, the Hokage was a truly lenient man. That'd be excellent, Hokage-sama. Good. The Hokage reached into his drawer and pulled out 2 headbands. One for each of you. Zabuza stepped up and took them both without pause. Haku's arms were still broken so he couldn't grab his himself. Zabuza then stepped forward and wrapped the headband around Haku's head before putting his own on. Thank you, Zabuza-san, Hokage-sama. Haku bowed deeply to each of them. The Hokage just laughed again. One more thing, here is your pay for an A-rank mission. The Sandaime handed Zabuza a slip filled with money. A job well done. Thank you very much. Zabuza and Haku stepped back in line with the rest of the group. Well then, now that is settled, we'll move on to a more serious matter. Even though I can forge the documents and you two will be Konoha shinobi, the council won't simply hand you their trust. Therefore, I am immediately assigning Team Guy another C-rank mission. Naruto's ears perked up at this. I want you guys to watch over Momochi Zabuza and his student, Haku. You are to show them around town, help them get adjusted, and make sure they are welcome to our village as comrades. This will be considered a long-term mission, you will receive a weekly allowance for it, and naturally won't need to do any other missions while on this one. Naruto almost shouted out at this. However, he managed to restrain himself. Not something that was missed by anyone present. The Hokage smiled slightly. Apparently, this mission had served to humble the hyperactive boy a little. Now, to work out where the two of you shall live. Normally, I would suggest you live with Might Guy. Rejected. Zabuza said flatly. I would rather chop my head off with my own sword. Anyone but him. If Guy was offended, he hid it very well. In fact, he wore the same eerie smile he had since the Hokage had agreed to make them comrades. I figured you would say as much, however, I insist that you live with your escorts. Hinata's family would never allow it, and to my understanding, Lee lives in the room next to his sensei now, is that correct? Lee saluted when the Hokage addressed him. Yes, Hokage-sama. Guy-sensei's willingness to buy me a room and get me out of the orphanage still brings happiness to my heart today. The Hokage nodded. That just leaves Naruto. Zabuza turned and looked at the little blonde runt. He then looked back to Guy. Okay, we'll take him. Zabuza reluctantly pointed to Naruto. Said blonde runt had a look of complete shock on his face. I'm going to have roommates. The awe that leaked out of his face made everyone feel slightly sick. Everyone in the room was now aware of his prisoner and the treatment he had received because of it. Zabuza couldn't believe it at first himself. That such a powerful force lived inside such a small boy's body. Yet here it was, right in front of him. This is awesome. Naruto's shout for joy pulled Zabuza from his thoughts. I can't wait to show you guys to your new room. This is going to be so much fun. We gotta get Ichirakus to celebrate. Yes, I will join you in this celebration. Lee pumped his fist in the air. I must let my sweet Ayame know that I have returned in one piece. What in the devil is Ichiraku? Zabuza rubbed his temple. He was already getting a headache. You don't know what Ichiraku's is. It's only the best ramen in the whole world. Naruto waved his arms in a big circle. It's settled, we're leaving right now, come on Hinata. Naruto grabbed her hand and started to walk out. Actually, the Hokage's voice stopped him in his tracks. I have to talk with you and your sensei yet. The others can wait for you at the base of the tower. Don't worry, the Hokage took notice of the concern on all their faces. It won't be more than a few minutes. Just a couple small details about the mission. It didn't take anyone more than a second to figure what the Hokage meant by small details. Alright, we'll catch up to you guys in a few. Naruto felt Hinata give his hand a tight squeeze and he smiled reassuringly at her in response. Just a few minutes, he repeated. Hinata nodded, let go of his hand, and started out of the room. Haku and Zabuza followed her. Lee gave a last look at his sensei and best friend, before he too left and closed the door behind him. The Hokage squiggled something down on a piece of paper quickly. He then beckoned Naruto closer. What's this letter? Naruto examined it curiously. You are to open that later today, when you feel that you are at your most lost. The Hokage smiled at him. Most lost? What are you rambling about now? Naruto put the letter in his pants pocket. You'll know, trust me. Now, on to serious matters. The Hokage folded his arms in front of himself. Oh yeah, so what's the big deal, old man? You want to tell me about how awesome I did on the mission? Naruto put his arms behind his head and smiled big at his grandfather figure. Naruto, drop the act. You know why I asked you to stay. Naruto's arms slowly lowered to his side and his big smile dropped almost instantly. I don't see why you all insist on talking about this. I only spoke with it. It wasn't even serious. He just insulted me the whole time. Naruto was referring to the Kyuubi no Yoko which he had met inside his subconscious. Are you sure that is all? Did it offer you anything? Such is its power. The Hokage's face was grave as he spoke. He was taking no chances where the fox was concerned. No, I asked why he didn't lend me any, but the only thing he tried to get me to do with rip off the seal. The Hokage leaned back in his chair and breathed a sigh of relief. Listen to me, Naruto. You must never use the fox's power. The more of it you use, the looser your seal could get. There is no telling what could happen. The Hokage said sternly. I don't see the problem. The Hokage and Guy were both taken aback by Naruto's response. The fox is a part of me, no matter how much I want to deny it. A trip through the village confirms that. I should learn how to use it. That bastard owes me rent. Silence followed Naruto's blunt demand. It took the Hokage a few seconds to gather his wits, although, he managed to keep his face in complete control the whole time. No one would have even known what Naruto said had surprised him. And what do you plan to do with this power? The Hokage finally asked. I'd use it to become Hokage and gain their respect. Naruto said firmly. And what if the fox takes over your mind? What then? The Hokage had to keep himself from shouting. I won't let it happen. Naruto didn't bother to restrain himself. If it's a clash of wills, I'll come out on top every time. There's no way that fox will beat me. Guy, talk to your student. The Hokage turned the spandex-clad ninja. The man was rubbing his chin thoughtfully. He finally seemed to decide on something. I say we let him do it. The Sandame's eyes widened just a fraction. Don't get me wrong, I know the Kyuubi is very dangerous, but Naruto brings up some good points. It is a part of him. No matter what, that is a fact. I cannot rightfully tell my student not to use a power like that when I have taught the Hachiman, also a forbidden power, to another one of my students. Finally, I have faith in Naruto. His youth will always surpass the fox's, of that I have no doubt. Guy gave the Hokage his best reassuring smile. Guy-sensei, Naruto felt tears start to fall. No one had ever had so much faith in him before. The Hokage felt older now than he had in a long time. He leaned back heavily in his chair. Do you even have any idea how to learn to control the fox, Naruto? Realization suddenly dawned on his eyes. Well, I was hoping you guys would know. The Sandaime looked to Guy. I have no idea, Hokage-sama. You two are most fortunate. I happen to have a man in the village who can train Naruto. Since your team is no longer doing missions, I want Naruto to report here at noon tomorrow. I will have the man here. You are both dismissed. Send in Tazuna-san and his family next and we will work on getting them a place to stay and a steady job. Guy bowed low and Naruto mimicked the action for the first time in his life. Thank you, Hokage-sama. They both said together. They then turned and walked out. Tazuna, you're good to go. I'll get the details of where you are staying from Hokage-sama later and we can go out to eat. Guy patted the elder man on the shoulder and rubbed Inari's hair. Thank you for everything. I'll see you guys later then. Tazuna, Tsunami and Inari walked into the Hokage's office. Once they were inside, Naruto turned to his sensei and bowed deeply. Thank you, Guy-sensei, for your faith in me. Guy waved the bow off. It is a teacher's job to have faith in their students. Now let's go meet up with everyone else. Guy was back to his boisterous self again. Yeah. Naruto and Guy began to descend down the steps of the Hokage Tower. Soon they were stepping outside into the bright Konoha sun. The good weather was the last thing Naruto was paying attention to though. They saw their group, however Neji and Sasuke were there too. Naruto felt his blood run cold. Hey, what are you guys doing here? Naruto growled at the two of them as he walked up. Neji peered over at him with a bored expression. Sasuke appeared to almost mimic him. We were just leaving actually, come on, Hinata-sama. Neji replied coldly. He turned and began to walk away. He didn't even look to see if Hinata was following. Hinata bowed quickly to her group. Sorry, but I must go. She turned to run after Neji but Naruto grabbed her hand. Wait a second, why the heck do you have to leave? He asked in little less than a yell. We were all going to eat together. What business of it is yours? Neji had stopped walking but hadn't turned around. It is my business, I happen to be her boyfriend. Now stay out of this. Hinata turned a horrified gaze to Neji. Naruto-kun, not now, please. She whispered frantically. Father heard about Zabuza and Haku being with our team. He wants to discuss the mission with me. Boyfriend, huh? Naruto watched Hinata visibly flinch. I can't wait to hear what Hiyashi-sama thinks about that one. Neji then continued to walk, Sasuke on his heel. Naruto-kun, we'll hang out later today, I promise. Hinata said again as he let go of her hand and took off after Neji. Naruto watched them go miserably. Suddenly he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked to see it was his sensei's. I'm going to go with her. I won't let anything happen to her, don't you worry, Naruto. Guy gave him his nice guy pose. Naruto smiled up at him. Thank you, sensei. No problem. Guy vanished as soon as he said those words. Haku whistled. I am always surprised by that man's speed. It is no wonder you outclassed me, Lee-san. Yes. Guy-sensei is an incredible man and I am most proud to say that some of his youthful spirit has rubbed off on me as well. Haku and Zabuza took a couple steps back away from the shouting youth. So, shall we get going to Ichiraku's to celebrate our miraculous return? Lee turned to Naruto who was still staring off the way Hinata had gone. Naruto. Lee placed his hand on the blonde's shoulder. Huh. Naruto shook his head and turned to his teammate. Ichiraku. Lee repeated calmly. Oh yeah, let's go. Naruto turned around and started to walk but he stopped again. Zabuza. What is it? Zabuza had sat quietly through the whole exchange that had gone on. He would never admit it, but he kind of wanted to split that older Hyuga kid in half with his sword. It sucked that he was supposed to be making friends with these people. Well, it wasn't all that big a deal before, but if you're going to be living in this village, maybe you should buy a shirt. Naruto kicked his feet around nervously. I mean, all the villagers are staring at us, and for once, it's not to glare at me. Zabuza looked around. Sure enough, about everyone that was within sight on the street was staring at them. Well, just at him. He let out a big sigh. Well, we did just get paid for an A-rank mission. Where's the nearest clothing store to here? Guy had only ever been inside the Hyuga compound a couple of times, but this would be the first he had ever been this far in. He would normally like to look around curiously, but with so many curious Byakugan eyes trained on him, he figured it would be better to just keep his head straight and his head held high. He walked just a couple paces behind his student. Neji and Sasuke had not entered and instead went to meet up with their team. Hinata stopped in front of a pair of big sliding doors. Guy stopped just behind her. Hinata cleared her throat. "Father, I am here to see you, as requested." Guy easily picked up on the anxiety in her voice. "Yes, however, I see you brought another person here with you," said a cold voice that could only have been Hinata's father from the other side of the door. Guy couldn't be sure, but he bet that her father had his Byakugan active at that very moment. Guy thought about answering but Hinata beat him to it. "Yes, this is Guy-sensei. He insisted that he accompany me." "Very well, you may both enter." Hinata bowed and Guy mimicked the action. You couldn't be too sure if he was watching or not. Then, Hinata opened the door and walked in. Guy of course followed. Once inside, Hinata closed the door behind them and then she went and sat down on the floor in front of her father. Guy paused for the slightest of seconds to take everything in. Hiyashi was sitting at the far end of the room. Only a small pillow was between himself and the floor. There was a long, slim table in front of himself. At the other end were two pillows, one which Hinata currently occupied. Guy wasted no time in taking the other one. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Guy-san. I hope Hinata has not disappointed you too much." Guy wasn't sure what he asked was posed as a question or not, but he figured he would answer regardless. "The pleasure is all mine, Hiyashi-sama. Hinata has been anything but a disappointment. She has progressed quite well in everything I have instructed of her." Guy kept his voice low and level. There was no fluctuating emotion seeping through. "I would be interested in hearing of this progression later on in the conversation, but for now, I am most curious as to why my daughter was seen walking into the village with an A-ranked missing ninja from Kurigakure. I had intended to ask her, but I trust you would be able to supply me with a suitable answer." Guy almost stole a quick glance at his student. However, he doubted the action would have been missed and chose not to. "Yes, you see, Hokage-sama hired Zabuza-san and his student to infiltrate a nefarious businessman's corrupt guard. My team was then hired to help draw this man out and assassinate him. We completed our mission and were ordered to return with Zabuza-san and Haku-san." Guy told the story he had been rehearsing. He just wished its first test didn't have to be on a master at seeing through deception. "I see, so the plan went through without a hitch. If I may ask, what role did my daughter play in this assassination?" If Hiyashi knew he was lying, he didn't show it. All the same, his latest question caused Guy to flinch. He wasn't sure how the man would take to the news of his daughter having been the assassin. "Well, I don't know how else to say this, but Hinata was the one who ended up carrying out the deed." Guy answered with bated breath. To his surprise, he saw Hiyashi's surprise. "Surely you jest. My daughter killed someone. How could it have come down to that with two jonin there?" Hiyashi's voice did not display his surprise. "Well, things got a little frantic." Guy was starting to sweat. He really hated these kind of meetings. Geto appeared with an entire army of armed guards. "We believe he saw through our deception and planned to have us all killed. And Hinata got through this army and killed." "Wait, did you say Geto?" Guy wanted to bite his tongue out. He really slipped up now by using his name. As in one of the richest men in the world, Geto. "You expect me to believe my daughter, who has displayed no talent in our art, fought her way through a miniature army and killed one of the most powerful individuals on the continent?" Like I already said, things got complicated. Guy was really starting to feel himself panic. Zabuza-san and I were about to begin our attack, but Hinata just kind of charged in. "Again, you speak foolishness. What would have possibly got this timid girl to charge into an army of men by herself, and what kept you from stopping her?" This was not going how Guy had hoped. He was digging himself a bigger hole with each passing sentence. It almost seemed like the clan head was toying with him. Like he knew he was lying from the beginning. "I thought they had killed Naruto-kun." Guy didn't stop himself from glancing to his student this time. He quickly looked back and was thankful to see Hiyashi was also looking at her. "Killed him? What do you mean?" Hiyashi's questions were now poised to Hinata. Guy almost let out a sigh of relief but quickly caught himself. Even the slightest movement could bring the man's gaze back to him. He needed to use this time to regain his thoughts. Zabuza-san, Hiku-san, and Guy-sensei were the only ones who knew about the mission. They felt if we knew we would be likely to give it away, since we are inexperienced. They made it look realistic by putting Naruto-kun in a death-like state. I was fooled by it and out of anger, I attacked. Guy couldn't help but be impressed by her quick wit. Naruto was rubbing off on his team more than he expected. Anger, you say? That commoner's well-being made you angry enough to take a man's life. Guy suddenly had a feeling Hinata was about to say something she was going to regret. Yes, it did. Because I love him, father. Guy hated being right. Hiyashi's surprise quickly turned to anger as he slammed his hand on the table in front of himself. Love him? No, that's not right, I forbid it. I won't let you. Hinata screamed. Being with him has made me stronger than I ever thought I could be. I'll spar you to prove it. Hinata stood up to show how serious she was. Spar? Against me? Hiyashi had an incredulous look on his face. You should know your place. When I've put you down I will have your team switched immediately. He promptly stood up and walked out of the room. Hinata followed him without being told. Guy sat there for a minute, his brain trying to catch up with what had just happened. There was only one thing he knew for sure at that moment. He really hated being right. Hiyashi and Hinata, father and daughter. The two now stood facing each other in the family dojo. Guy stood in the room as well with a multitude of other branch family members who were looking on with curiosity. Hinata's younger sister was also in the room. She had a pained look on her face as she watched her older sister and father get ready to have a more than unfriendly spar. If I win, you have to promise me that I can date Naruto-kun, you must also let me remain on my team. Hinata broke the uneasy silence in the room. You really think you can win? I will admit that you have changed, daughter, but confidence without the strength to back it up is foolishness. Hiyashi activated his Byakugan and settled into his perfected Juken stance. I am confident because I know Naruto-kun believes in me. Hinata's Byakugan activated and she charged her father without even waiting for the signal. She closed the gap in no time and struck at him. Hiyashi stepped slightly sideways to avoid the attack. He then brought his foot in between Hinata's legs and quickly pulled back. The result sent Hinata stumbling forward, right into Hiyashi's waiting palm. He struck her hard in the stomach and sent her crashing painfully to the floor a few feet away. Like I said, confidence without power is foolish. Stay down and reflect on what has happened here. Hiyashi turned to walk away. You're the foolish one, father. Hinata said as she stumbled to her feet. If you think that one blow is enough to keep me down, that is. Hiyashi spun around to face his daughter. He had not expected that. A month ago and that blow would have put his daughter down for sure. This might just be interesting after all. Hiyashi settled back into his Juken stance. Come, he ordered. Hinata didn't even think twice about obeying. She charged in again and delivered the same strike as last time. That won't work. Hiyashi avoided the move and stepped his foot in again. Neither will your move. Hinata pivoted and spun on her back foot causing Hiyashi's backwards motion to meet only air. Hinata continued her spin and brought her raised leg around in a powerful spinning kick. Hiyashi quickly raised his forearm and blocked the blow. He was not prepared for the surge of pain he got from the block. What trick is this? Hiyashi rose his other arm up and pulled Hinata's pant cuff up slightly. Underneath he was shocked to find an assortment of training weights. Not light ones either. It isn't a trick. It is testament of my determination. Hiyashi released his hold on her leg and they both jumped backwards. She then bent down and unclipped her weights. I hope you are ready to experience the full power of my youth, father. Guy was flattered that she was finally picking up his philosophy. He just wondered why it couldn't have waited just another day. What nonsense are you speaking? Hiyashi lowered his guard just slightly. His eyes did nothing to hide his confusion or growing anger. Just then his daughter vanished. He ducked just as Hinata's leg passed over his head. It's not nonsense. Hiyashi quickly spun and struck at Hinata only for her to vanish again. It's my resolve to win. Hiyashi rolled sideways to avoid Hinata's next Juken strike. He completed his roll quickly and settled back into his stance. He needn't have hurried though. Hinata stood there, calmly facing him. You have gotten stronger, daughter. But it has led to too much confidence. You made a big mistake. You are now within range of my divination. Hiyashi's stance shifted and Hinata's eyes grew wide. Hake Rokujian show. Hiyashi hadn't wanted to resort to this, but if speed was all his daughter had to show, then he was no longer interested in continuing this fight. He launched himself at Hinata and only too late noticed the smirk that had grown on her face. Hinata changed her stance and then begun spinning quickly. Impossible. Hiyashi was too close to stop his attack and his first two strikes flew towards Hinata. But they never found their mark. His hands were stopped by an invisible barrier. Not a second later and Hiyashi was blasted off his feet and flung across the room. He landed hard on his back. He quickly rolled onto his stomach and began to get to his feet. The Hakusho Kaden, he gasped. But when did you learn that? Not only that but the Yuho Soshikan as well. Hiyashi's eyes widened as he quickly rolled out of the way again. His daughter had appeared in front of him, her hands engulfed in blue chakra in the shape of a lion's. She struck the ground where he had been just a moment ago, causing the wood floor to completely shatter. Hiyashi landed on his feet and quickly settled into his stance. It was a pointless gesture though. There was no way he was going to risk a counter-attack while Hinata had that technique active. Hinata charged at him and unleashed a furious barrage of punches. Hiyashi ducked and weaved his way through every one of them with increasing difficulty. Finally he watched them start to simmer out. He took this opportunity to knock her latest fist away. Hinata stumbled back from the blow and Hiyashi closed in. He never noticed the seemingly weakening jutsu suddenly increased to an intensity bigger than before. He did feel Hinata's enhanced fist connected painfully with his gut, doubling him over and knocking him off of his feet. Hiyashi, for the second time in one match, was sent down onto the floor on his back. He groaned and slowly rose to his knees. He suddenly bent over and coughed up a heap of blood. He looked up wearily to see his daughter's jutsu had deactivated and she was now leaned over and panting heavily. Her Byakugan was also off now as well. It would appear that move has exhausted your chakra. Hiyashi finally got back to his feet. That means this fight is as good as over. He charged at her again, his juken poised to strike. Hinata dropped to the floor and spun her leg in a powerful sweep. Hiyashi stopped fast and jumped over it. Hinata turned her body and sent her other foot upwards, catching Hiyashi painfully in the chin with her heel. The Hyuga clan head landed painfully on his feet a few feet away as his daughter spun around to face him and settled into a Goken stance. I will continue to fight, chakra or no chakra, I cannot afford to lose. Hinata charged at her father and delivered a punch. Hiyashi dodged and returned with a juken. Hinata brought her elbow up and deflected it to the side, sending the chakra blast pointlessly into the air. Hinata then spun around and delivered a powerful backwards fist. You'd go so far for this boy, yet do you really know anything about him? Hiyashi ducked under her fist and swung at Hinata from down low. Hinata spun out of the way and brought her leg up in a chamber kick. Hiyashi went to meet it with a juken strike. Hinata stopped mid-spin and then spun the other way. I know everything about him, even about the context of the law. Hiyashi was caught off guard and Hinata's reverse kick nailed him in the middle of the back. He stumbled forward. Hinata jumped in the air and aimed another spinning kick at his head. Hakusho Kaden. Hinata was blown backwards and landed painfully on the ground. You know this and yet you still wish to be with him. Hiyashi spun to face his daughter. I don't understand. Why? If you know, then you must know the risk he poses. Hinata chuckled at his question. Why? She asked as she stumbled to her feet. Perhaps for the same reason you chose mother. Hiyashi's eyes widened. I know all about how you had to fight the entire Hyuga Council to get them to accept her. You broke a lot of rules and nearly lost your place as the clan head. But you did it anyways. Maybe my reason is the same. Hinata roared and charged at her father again. Just before she got to him she stumbled from her exhaustion. Hiyashi took the opportunity and nailed her straight in the jaw. Hinata's body arced high into the air and then crashed down onto the ground in a crumbled heap. Just like that, in a single instant, the match was over. You don't know anything about that. Hiyashi whispered more to himself. He stared down at his now unconscious daughter. Gai-san, Hiyashi called without turning his gaze. Yes. Gai stepped forward, his eyes wouldn't move from his unconscious student. Where did Hinata learn those moves? They are far too advanced for her. Gai's eyes finally focused on the man who was speaking. Too advanced. Did you see the way she executed them? They were both flawless. You should be proud. Guy gestured towards the man's unconscious daughter. I asked where she learned them. Hiyashi said coldly. I taught them to her. It is my job as a teacher to teach her everything I believe she is capable of. Hiyashi nodded his head. I see, I had told her I would remove her from the team. Guy opened his mouth to protest. But I have changed my mind. The improvement she has shown here is beyond anything I have ever dreamed possible. Keep up the good work. With that, Hiyashi turned to walk out of the room. Wait, Hiyashi stopped. What about Naruto? You will allow her to see him, right? Guy wasn't sure why he was asking such a question. He figured he owed it to his student who had tried so hard. Yes, Uzumaki Naruto. Send him here to meet me. I would like to talk to him myself. Guy's mouth fell open. Your presence won't be necessary this time. I will be sure my daughter is on time for your typical meeting time tomorrow. Hiyashi walked out of the room before Guy was able to say another thing. He looked quietly back to his young student. Her younger sister was now leaning over her. She appeared to be trying to rouse her. I'm sorry, Naruto. I didn't keep my promise to you. Man, that really hit the spot. Naruto shouted as he walked down the street that led to his apartment. It was quite good. It seems like it has been forever since we had food from a restaurant, wouldn't you agree? Zabuza-san. Haku smiled brightly. It was all he could do to contain the excitement from going to the place he would soon call home. It was all right. Better than I thought anyways. Zabuza praised lightly. He now wore a navy blue, sleeveless jacket. It had the red swirl on the back. He still carried his huge sword on his back, so naturally, everyone was still staring at him. At least it wasn't at his pecs anymore. All right, up these stairs and we'll be here. The excitement was boiling up inside Naruto as he walked up the steps, led them down the hall, took out his keys, and opened the door to his room. This is it, Naruto said proudly as he walked in and spread his arms in front of himself. This is it. Naruto picked up on the disappointment in Zabuza's voice. Hey, I know it's not much, but it's not that bad. Not that bad. There are ramen cups everywhere. My sword is scraping against the damn roof. It looks like there is only a kitchen, one bedroom, and one bathroom. Where are we supposed to sleep in this dinky hellhole? If you're gonna be that way, you can just sleep with Guy-sensei. Zabuza shivered slightly. He then took another look around. Suddenly a brilliant idea came to him. Yeah, you're right, this might not be so bad, after all. Zabuza said, walking into the house. He strolled straight for the kitchen. See, that's the spirit. Naruto nodded happily, oblivious to Zabuza as he examined his kitchen wall. Hey, Runt, on the other side of this wall is the apartment next door, right? Zabuza poked the wall with his finger. Huh, yeah, I guess so, no one lives there though. You know, no one wanted to live in the room next to the demon brat. Naruto now looked at Zabuza curiously. Really, that's perfect. A devious smile that was masked beneath his bandages appeared on his face. Why do you ask? Naruto wasn't sure what happened. 1 second, Zabuza's sword was on his back, on the wall was up, the next his sword was gone and so was the wall. Yeah, this'll do just nicely. Zabuza stepped into the other room. Now we got 2 of everything. Gah, what the hell, Zabuza? You can't just go breaking down walls. Who the hell is supposed to pay for that? What am I going to do? This isn't right. I'm so lost now. Wait, lost? Didn't the old man mention something about being lost? Naruto quickly reached into his pocket and pulled out the letter. He flipped it open and began reading furiously. Naruto, I assume that if you were reading this that you are just ignoring my instructions and being nosy, or Zabuza has broken down the wall between your apartment and the one over. If that is the case, I will have already taken the liberty of having let the complex owner know that there is someone who has moved into that room. I hope the 3 of you are getting along well. P.S. You'll need to buy more than just ramen now that you have other people in the house. The letter slipped from Naruto's hand. He made a mental note never to underestimate the Hokage again. Ever. Haku noticed the note and he bent over to read it. As he read it, he began to chuckle. Hokage-sama sure is an intuitive man. Haku motioned for Zabuza to come over and read the letter. Naruto meanwhile went to his couch and slumped down. At least things were working out this way, right? A sudden knock on the door brought Naruto to his feet. He answered the door and was surprised to see a winded Guy there. Guy-sensei, what's up? Why do you look panicked? Naruto, it's urgent. Guy placed his hands on his student's shoulders. You have to what happened to your wall. Guy took notice of it as Zabuza walked back into Naruto's side of the apartment. Ah, might Guy. Do you like my addition to the room? I could be a designer if I wanted to, don't you think? Zabuza laughed maliciously as he stepped back over into the other side. Right, never mind. Naruto. Still here, Guy-sensei. I can't go anywhere with your hands on my shoulders. Naruto shrugged his shoulders for emphasis. No time for jokes. Hinata took on her father in a sparring match and now he wants to talk to you. Naruto stared at his sensei for a split second. Guy took notice as all the emotions ran across his face. First confusion, followed by realization, followed by anger, followed by more confusion, and then replaced again with anger. If that bastard hurt her, I'll rip his throat out with my teeth. Naruto pushed past his sensei and started walking down the walkway. Instead of trying to stop him, Guy walked with him. Listen, Naruto. Hinata is the one who challenged him to the spar. Guy kept up easily with Naruto's brisk pace. Why would she do that? Naruto asked, still angry. He told her she couldn't love you and she went off the wall. She fought well and surprised him quite a bit. I think he wants to judge you. You can't go in there angry. Naruto came to an instant halt. Guy had no trouble matching him. Can't go in angry. How can I not be angry? That bastard doesn't even deserve to be called a father. Naruto spun on his sensei. I know Naruto, but you didn't see what I did. If you go in there angry you won't be helping Hinata. You have to think calmly, for her sake. Naruto was visibly shaking from all the emotions he was feeling. After a few deep breaths, he was able to work himself down. You said he wants to judge me, what do you mean? Naruto finally asked. Guy smiled brightly at Naruto's control over himself. Hinata showed him things he didn't expect. She said her determination comes from you. I think he is considering letting her see you romantically based on that. Anything to help her improve. But if you go in there, wild and destructive, you will destroy any chance. Naruto took everything Guy said in slowly. He finally nodded a couple times. Okay, I think I know what to do now. Let's go Guy-sensei. Naruto turned to start moving again. He doesn't want me there this time. I'm sorry, but you're on your own for this one Naruto. Naruto looked at him in disbelief. He then nodded his head slowly. Like I said, I got this. Naruto then started running off down the street. Guy hoped Naruto really did have it. I guess I should go take Haku to the hospital to have his arms looked at. I have to meet up with Tazuna like I promised. Guy was about to turn back to Naruto's apartment but he saw Naruto running backwards towards him. Naruto appeared next to his sensei again. I forgot how to get to the Hyuga compound. Guy sighed. Naruto's chances were dwindling already. Hiyashi sat quietly in the room he had been in before the interruption. He stared quietly at a picture of himself and his beloved deceased wife. Things had changed so much for him when she had perished while on a mission. He hated even thinking about it at this point anymore. Had Hinata turned out more like him than he thought? She was clearly willing to fight the whole clan for this boy. Challenging him was proof enough of that. Hiyashi sighed. Just as he did, a voice called out to him. Hiyashi-sama. Uzumaki-san is here to see you. Hiyashi quickly slid the picture into the folds of his robes. Send him in. Hiyashi masked all his emotions. He had to appear stern as usual. The door opened and the blonde walked in nervously. The door sliding shut behind him made him just slightly. The blonde walked up and sat down on the pillow directly in front of Hiyashi. You look angry, is there something you want to say to me? The Hyuga head thought it would be best to test his temper. See how he would really was. It wouldn't surprise him if Guy warned him about watching his anger. You're damn right there is. As expected, if Naruto had been warned about it, he threw all those words to the side. You think it's okay to just treat Hinata that way? I should kick your ass right here for that. I have it half in mind just to leave this place right now and take her with me. You can bet that when I'm Hokage you'll be number one on my shit list for treating her that way. Hiyashi stared ominously at Naruto for a solid minute. Everything Naruto had said slowly processed through his head. Then he felt his lip twitched slightly. Suddenly his mouth curled into a smile. The next thing Hiyashi knew and he was laughing, hard. It had been forever since he had done something like that. What the hell? You don't think I'm serious? I will be Hokage and Hinata'll be the head of this clan. Naruto pointed a vengeful finger at the man who sat across from him. Hiyashi's laughter slowly died down. I'm sorry for that. It's just been a long time since anyone has spoke to me that way. First, my daughter tells me off, and now her little boyfriend is too. This truly is a surprising day. Yes, I think you'll do just fine. Hiyashi had planned on accepting him from the beginning. Anything to help his daughter improve further and become the clan head like she was supposed to be. Just fine. Naruto pulled his finger back. What did he mean? I mean, I think a future Hokage would be an apt choice for my daughter's boyfriend. Hiyashi smiled at him. Oh, thanks, I guess. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Hey, wait a second, I had more to say. Naruto pointed at him again. Yes, if you must take my daughter on a date tonight, I will have her sister show you to her room. Hanabi, you may come in now. Naruto spun around as a younger Hinata with long hair opened the door. Father. Hanabi bowed to him before she took a seat on the one side of Naruto. Naruto noticed her peek at him out of the corner of her eye every now and then. I would like you to look at this picture. Hiyashi slid the picture over. Hanabi gasped as Naruto picked it up. Is this your mom? Naruto asked as he held it more towards Hanabi. She only nodded slowly. She's really pretty. What clan was she from? The most distinct thing Naruto noticed about her was the fact that she did not have the Byakugan. Instead she had beautiful, purple irises. He had always just assumed the clan married within itself. She is a Hyuga. Naruto dropped the photo in surprise. But her eyes. She is the first one in over a century to be born without our clan's Kekkei Genkei. Hiyashi looked sorrowfully at the picture. It was the cause of many troubles. Troubles. Naruto looked in confusion at the picture. As you know, we marry within our clan to keep the bloodline pure. However, because she did not have our Kekkei Genkei, she was deemed unfit to be my bride. Hiyashi picked the picture up and stared at it. But, you said she was Hinata's mom. Naruto looked between both of them in confusion. She is. I fought the clan and came out on top but not without consequence. Hiyashi stared at his daughter. When Hinata showed ineptitude for our clan's techniques, her mother was the one blamed. She was scorned by the rest of the clan for producing a weak heiress. I fear that it was this that eventually drove her to her death. Things started to piece together for Naruto. You blamed Hinata for her death, didn't you? At first, yes. Lately though I have come to blame myself. When I found out my daughter loved you I didn't want you to be together because she may suffer the same fate as I. Hiyashi looked back up at Naruto. After fighting her today I realized I was the one who was wrong and that she is more like me than I ever realized. Why are you telling me all this? Naruto's anger was long forgotten. It was replaced by confusion now. Because you are the one she has chosen. The same way I chose my wife. I won't oppose you but no it won't be easy either. You have my respect Naruto-san. Hiyashi bowed low to the blonde. An act the Naruto awkwardly returned. Now, Hanabi. Take him to your sister's room. Right away, father. This way, Naruto-san. Hanabi gestured for Naruto to follow her. Yeah, right. Naruto got up and followed after her. He wasn't sure how it happened, but he had ended up following that man's pace. A truly formidable opponent. He would have to try again another time. The door was shut behind him and Hiyashi was again left alone. Hurry and become a man who can properly protect my daughter, Naruto-san. Protect her since I wasn't properly able to. Hiyashi knew he was taking a risk mouthing that sentence out loud but he didn't care. He felt much better having said it. Meanwhile, on the other side of the door, Hanabi was giving Naruto a strange look. Naruto-san. Huh. Yeah, it was Hanabi, right? Naruto asked nervously. He was never good with names. Yes, but, Naruto-san. Hanabi looked away and didn't say anything for a minute. What's up? Naruto got tired of waiting. Hanabi didn't answer for another couple of seconds. Naruto-san, you're incredible. Hanabi was suddenly beaming at him. Thanks, I know. Naruto puffed out his chest. Why exactly am I incredible? I have never seen Hinata-ne-chan try so hard in her life. She was incredible when she sparred against father. Furthermore, I have never heard father laugh, not even once. For you to be able to get him to, you must really be something. Not only that, but I haven't even seen a picture of mom in forever. I had no idea he kept it on him. I had even forgotten what she looked like. Naruto felt an odd sense of pride swell up inside of himself as Hanabi continued to drone on. Apparently he had gotten a lot out of the clan head. Suddenly, they were at Hinata's door. "Hinata-ne-chan," Hanabi said as she knocked on the door. "Go away, Hanabi-chan," Hinata shouted. "Just leave me alone, I don't want to do anything right now." Naruto grew worried. Hinata sounded really upset. He was about to call but Hanabi grabbed hold of his hand to get his attention. When she had it, she shook her head. So Naruto reluctantly remained quiet. "But, Hinata-ne-chan, don't you want to see the surprise I brought you?" They heard some shuffling from in the room. Suddenly, they heard a gasp and footsteps as Hinata ran to the door. She swung it open. "Naruto-kun." Hinata threw herself into him. Naruto was knocked backwards from the force but managed to stay on his feet. "What is it with you and these forceful hugs? Can't I get an ordinary one for once?" Naruto joked as he returned to hug. Soon Hinata pulled back. "I don't understand, did you sneak in here?" Hinata wiped away tears that had begun to leak from her eyes. "Nah, your father asked for me to come. He said he approves of us dating, so it's okay." Naruto laughed at the look of surprise on Hinata's face. "Come on, he said we can go on a date tonight. Bushy Brow and Ayame-ne-chan are probably going to be ready by the time we get there." Naruto started to pull on Hinata's arm. "A date?" Hinata asked, off in her own little world. "Yeah, a double date. Come on." Naruto pulled a little harder. "Oh, 1 second. Hinata pulled back, went into her room and closed the door. "Wait, Hinata, what the heck is she doing?" Naruto scratched his head. In confusion. "She's changing of course. She can't go like she is." Naruto had forgotten Hanabi was there for a second. "Well, why not?" Hanabi just looked at him like he was stupid. "Sorry we're late." Naruto called running up to his teammate and sister figure. Hinata was just behind him. "Whoa, Bushy Brow, what happened to your outfit?" Naruto stopped short to stare at his best friend. He no longer wore the spandex that was his and Guy's trademark. Instead he wore green shirts and a green t-shirt. The yellow leg warmers were still present to hold his weights in. "Ayame-chan has insisted that I wear something different while out on dates. I will be back to my normal attire when we next meet." "Speaking of changing clothes, I see you didn't have the decency to do so. Look how pretty Hinata got for you. Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" Naruto flinched at his sister's harsh criticism. He wouldn't deny it though, Hinata definitely looked pretty good in normal clothes. Her bright blue, sleeveless shirt fit nicely over her slender frame and contrasted well with the slightly purple pants she wore. Naruto had admitted she was cute before, but this was now on a whole new level. I don't mind." Hinata blushed slightly as she spoke. She wasn't entirely comfortable with everyone's eyes on her just yet. "I am just happy to be going on a date with you all. I hope to make this a most youthful night. You're into the talk about youth too. I really am outnumbered now." Ayame threw her hands up in defeat. "Anyways, we need to decide on where to eat." She looked over to Naruto and Lee purposely. "How about, continue that sentence and I'll serve you cold ramen for the rest of your life." Naruto snapped his mouth shut. "I know of an excellent restaurant a few blocks away. But we must hurry, soon only the bar is left open." Lee grabbed Ayame's hand and started running off. "Lee, wait, we've talked about you dragging me around like this." Ayame yelled frantically as Lee nearly carried her off. Naruto looked over to Hinata. "That looks oddly familiar, huh? We should probably run to keep up with him, we don't know where they are going, after all." Naruto looked back in time to see Lee turning the corner. "Last one, there is a rotten egg." Naruto bolted before Hinata had a chance to react. "That's not fair, Naruto-kun." Hinata ran after him as soon as she realized what happened. They whipped around the corner and were quickly gaining on Lee. Hinata suddenly got an idea. "Naruto-kun, someone just dropped a bowl of ramen." Naruto halted in his tracks and spun around, searching frantically for the source of such a dastardly deed. Hinata shot past him and Naruto quickly realized he'd been duped. Hinata barely beat Naruto to the building Lee was standing in front of. "You cheated," Naruto shouted as he ran up to her. Hinata responded by sticking her tongue out at him. "You are all insane." Ayame was still gasping for breath. "How can none of you even be winded? Our flames burn far too brightly to be put out by such a light jog." Lee roared. Naruto's stomach growled in response. Well, my flames are telling me they need to be fed. Naruto walked past them into the restaurant. Hinata and Lee walked in laughing with him. Ayame grumbled a little but had a grin on her face all the same. Soon, the group was seated at a high table right next to the bar. Hi there folks, said a waitress who came up to their table. The name is Nene and I'll be your server tonight. What can I start you all off with to drink? I'll have tea, Ayame said. The others all quickly followed her lead, ordering tea. Alright, 4 teas, I'll be right back with those and to take your orders. Nene turned around and ran smack into a customer with a glass of something in his hand. The man stumbled and dropped his drink all over the front of Nene's dress. The man looked over at her sharply. He didn't say anything and just started walking back towards the bar. Oh, I'm sorry, Nene shouted after recovering her wits. The man ignored her. Nene shrugged and walked off, looking at her ruined dress the whole way. Great, looks like we got a newbie. Ayame mumbled. How much you guys want to bet she brings us back the wrong drinks? I am sure she will do just fine, Lee said. She just has to tap into her untamed youth. What's that bushy brow, you disagreeing with Nei-chan? Lee shook his head fiercely. I think she'll do just fine, Hinata said as she watched Nene walking back carefully with their drinks. Here you go, folks. Nene set the tray of drinks on the table. Ayame peered at the drinks curiously. She noticed quickly that it wasn't tea they had. Yosh. Well done Nene-san. Lee grabbed his drink and drank it all in a second. Lee wait, that's not tea. Ayame shouted too late. Nene looked down in confusion. Oh, shoot, this sake was meant for the table next to you guys, my bad. Please don't tell on me. I can't get in trouble for selling to a minor. Oh, shucks, we could not stay mad at someone as cute as you Nene-san. Lee gave a big hiccup. Everyone at the table quickly took note of Lee's slurred words and 2 big red spots on his cheeks. Bushy brow, are you drunk? Naruto started laughing. This was too much. You hardly had anything. What wash that, you picking on me, punk. Naruto wasn't sure what happened. Lee had been on the other side of the table. The next thing he knew and Lee was under it and Naruto was flying from his chair. He landed painfully on his back. That will show you. Hiccup. Naruto slowly stood up. Now that hurt. Alright bushy brow, we need to get you out of here. Naruto cautiously stepped closer to his teammate. Just before he could set his hand on his shoulder, Lee literally slithered away from his grasp. Oh, back for show more Aishi. I am about to give you the thrashing of a Lee the time. Lee suddenly launched himself at Naruto in the most peculiar angle Naruto had ever witnessed. The young blonde found it impossible to block the blow that nailed him. This time he crashed onto the bar, breaking several glasses. Ayame screamed as she watched it happen. The combined noise caused immediate panic from all those present and they immediately fled the restaurant, screaming the whole way. Lee, calm down, please, you have to stop this. Ayame ran up to Lee and pulled at his arm. Stop what, babe? Lee grinned eerily at her. I am just living my youth to the fullest. Are you not proud of me, Guy-sensei? Lee began spinning around with his arms up in the air. Hinata was suddenly right next to him, Byakugan active, and her fingers posed to strike a knockout point. Just before her blow connected, Lee bent completely backwards at a 90-degree angle. Hinata's strike missed. Lee then rolled over and slithered in between Hinata's legs and stood up erect behind her. Ish, that you Hinata? You want to dance? Lee grabbed her hand and spun her around. Hinata spun for several seconds before she crashed into a table. Ops. Hiccup. I am surprised you would want to dance with me. I thought you liked Naruto. Lee let out a small giggle. That does it, I'm taking you out. 4 Narutos shouted as they closed in on Lee from different sides. Oh, Naruto, there thou are. Lee switched to a handstand and spun around with his feet stretched out. He knocked each Naruto on the face and they all were sent crashing into a different part of the restaurant. Damn, I can't even get close to him like this. One of the Narutos growled as they all stood up. Yosh, Naruto, lesh have a mouth. Youthful sparing Matish. Hiccup. Lee was suddenly charging straight at one of the Narutos. Alright, that's enough. A masked ninja with white hair that Naruto didn't recognize appeared behind Lee, his thumb already pressed on the pressure point on Lee's neck. Lee collapsed to a seemingly boneless heap on the ground. A natural-born Sukin fighter, huh? Guy, You've been holding out on me. The one-eyed ninja said as he bent down and began to pick Lee up. Hey, who the hell are you? Where are you taking my teammate? Naruto ran up to the man. Sorry about this, Naruto, I'm just taking him back to his place. Leave this whole mess to me, you just get those two ladies home. The ninja made a quick hand sign, then he and Lee were both gone. Naruto stared bewildered at the spot the man just left from. Who was that guy, and how did he know my name? Naruto's answer was a pained groan from Hinata. Naruto instantly forgot about the mysterious shinobi for a second. Hinata, you okay? Naruto ran over and helped Hinata help from the heat she was on. Yes, I'm fine, Naruto-kun, just a little dazed. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. He then looked over to Ayame. She looked to be in a daze as well. Nei-chan, we gotta get out of here. Naruto held Hinata's hand as they walked up to her. Ayame paid them no mind though. Nei-chan. Naruto put his hand on her shoulder. Ayame snapped out of it and looked over at Naruto fearfully. Naruto, what the heck did that man just do? Is Lee going to be okay? He won't get in any kind of trouble for this, will he? Naruto grabbed her by the forearm and pulled her out of the restaurant as she asked her questions. They got a huge amount of questioning stares as they left and started walking down the street. Naruto, answer me. Lee is going to be okay, right? Ayame was starting to get frantic. She shook herself free from Naruto's grasp and stopped walking. Naruto stopped and looked back at her. Bushy brow will be just fine, maybe a little hungover, but okay. That weird guy just knocked him out is all. I doubt he'll be punished for something like this. That guy said he would take care of him. He was a jonin, so we should trust him to keep his word. Ayame let out a breath she didn't know she had been holding. Her relief then transformed into rage. If I ever meet that Nene again, I'm going to have a couple choice words for her. She better hope that I don't get my hands on her or there'll be hell to pay. Ayame started storming off towards her shop. Naruto watched her go, too fearful to get close to the raging woman. I think it's kind of cute. Hinata said, catching Naruto's attention. She seems bossy, but she really does seem to care about Lee-senpai in her own way. Naruto chuckled. Yeah, Bushy Brow said something like that about her too. Naruto stared back at Ayame again before looking back to Hinata. I'm sorry, guess our first date got really messed up, huh? Naruto did his best to smile at her. To his surprise, Hinata gave him a genuine smile back. It's okay, Naruto-kun. I enjoyed what time we had, just being with you a little is enough for me. Naruto felt himself blush at her words. Why yeah, well, then, what do you say we take the long way to your house then? I'd like that. Chapter 12. New training. Headband. Check. Kunai and shuriken stocked. Check. Awesome green outfit. Check. Okay, I'm ready to go. Naruto beamed at his own reflection in the mirror. It felt good to be back in Konoha and getting up in the morning to go for an intense day of training. It was amazing how much could change in such a short time. A little over a month ago and he would have thrown up at the prospect of having to get up at 4:30 in the morning to begin training. Now, he found he had missed doing it while they were out on the C-rank mission. Naruto switched his light off and cautiously stepped through the house. He had to be a little quieter in the morning now that he had roommates. To his surprise though, Haku was up, in the kitchen, and fully dressed. Oh, Naruto-san. Haku looked just as surprised to see Naruto up at this hour. Good morning. Naruto greeted. I didn't wake you when I took my shower, did I? Oh no, I am just an early riser. You look like you were ready to go somewhere. Haku observed Naruto dressed in his complete ninja attire. Yeah, me and my team always meet up at 5 in the morning to train. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. He found talking to Haku a little awkward. He wasn't really a bad guy, just overly polite, almost emotionless at times. It was more unnerving to Naruto than anything. I see. An awkward silence settled over the room. If you don't think Guy-san would mind, could I perhaps join you guys in your morning training? Naruto was taken aback by his roommate's request. He wouldn't mind at all, but are you sure? What about your arms? Haku flexed his hands lightly. He had gone to the hospital yesterday and the medical ninja there had almost completely healed his arms, but they still warned him to take it easy. They should be alright. You sure? Naruto looked reluctant. Is it not okay? Haku looked disappointed. No, I said it's alright. I just thought you wouldn't want to with your arms just being healed and all. Naruto waved his arms in front of himself in defense. If you're all ready, I'd like to get going right now. I'm usually the last one as it is. Haku immediately brightened. Yes, I am prepared. I look forward to training with you guys. Naruto smiled at him and led him out the door. Maybe not as emotionless as he first thought. Once outside, Naruto took to the roofs towards his team's training ground. Haku kept up with his more than brisk pace. Soon Naruto landed in an open field, Haku no more than a step behind. As expected, the rest of the team was already assembled. Naruto and Haku. What a pleasant surprise to see you at such a young hour in the morning. Perhaps your flames are looking to be fanned until they shine brilliantly. Haku winced at Guy's boisterous voice. Don't let it bother you, I think everyone who lives around here wears earplugs to sleep or something. Naruto and Haku walked up to his team. I hope it's okay that I brought him Guy-sensei. He is a member of Konoha after all. Of course it is fine, Naruto. Haku couldn't help but wince again. He also couldn't help but wonder how the others seemed oblivious to the man's uncannily loud voice. I am most glad you brought him actually. I intend to do things a little differently today. Haku wasn't sure what the taijutsu master meant, but by the looks of his peers he wasn't alone. For that matter, they looked a little more lost than he was. What do you mean by different, Guy-sensei? Hinata was the first to voice her confusion. We are not going to be splitting into our groups anymore. No, you see, the time for individual training is over. You have all progressed nicely and have met the basic requirements I had set for you. Guy gave them his thumbs of approval. Instead, for morning practice, I will simply observe you all as you go for one-on-one spars for the next 2 hours. You don't mean you're done teaching us new tricks, are you? Guy quickly caught onto Naruto's concern and raised his hand to silence them all before any more questions could be made. Not at all. However, we now have much more time as a team to perfect these things, not being on missions for a while. So instead, I am going to spend our mornings together working on your taijutsu. You shall work on other stuff later. In fact, I have a special surprise for you all later. Yosh. I love surprises. They give me a feeling of such youth that I could be just a wee lad again. Lee's eyes seemed to catch fire. Haku backed up just an inch. This group was crazy. Just what did he get himself into? Haku realized too late that he made the wrong move backing up. Guy had been drawn to the subtle movement. Haku, how would you like to go first? You and Naruto can have a good warm-up match. Naruto practically jumped for joy at being called first. He rushed a little farther out into the clearing and turned around. Haku sighed in defeat and walked forward. What are the rules of this match? He asked while he slipped into his stance. Just taijutsu, none of that mirror stuff of yours. Naruto beamed as he slipped into his own stance. Doesn't that put you at a disadvantage as well? If I remember correctly, you specialized in clone combat. Are you all that capable without them? Haku had meant the question innocently enough. But the look of anger that slipped onto Naruto's face told him that he had definitely worded that poorly. You'll be sorry if you underestimate a genius of hard work. Guy warned. If you guys are ready. Begin. Haku was still pondering what Guy had meant by genius of hard work when he called to begin. Naruto hadn't missed a beat though and had cleared half the distance before Haku was even self-aware. Don't just stand there, it won't be fun that way. Naruto threw a punch right at his opponent. Haku grabbed his fist and upper arm before the fist could connect. Then, planting his feet firmly, he lifted Naruto high in the air, intending to throw him backwards over his head, all in one fluid motion. Haku didn't expect to feel Naruto grab onto his shirt sleeve just as he was completely perpendicular to the ground. Now, instead of going flying backwards, Naruto arced downwards. As he did, he pulled Haku's arm painfully backwards. Naruto then pulled up, now lifting Haku over his head. Before the boy could even react, he was slammed painfully into the ground on his backside. The whole thing, from the moment Haku grabbed onto Naruto, to the moment he was slammed down, took less than 5 seconds. Excellent. Haku, that was an incredible counter to Naruto's punch. Naruto, your ability to think on the spot and make use of what you're given never ceases to surprise me. Guy clapped for the quick performance. Haku slowly stood up and gave Guy a look of pure disbelief. I don't understand. Why praise me? I lost, instantly. That was disgraceful. Haku, the way Guy said his name sent a shiver down his spine. That voice was straight up disturbing. He would rather the man be shouting at the top of his lungs. You may have lost, but what matters the most is that you tried. That doesn't work in the real world. If you mess up there you are killed. Haku took a step forward. Or have you already forgotten what I had done to Naruto-san? Guy's face suddenly took on a dark demeanor, one that caused Haku to take back his forward step. Of course I have not forgotten. That moment will be engraved in my soul for eternity. However, this is not the real world. We make mistakes here and learn from them. That way when the time comes in the real world, we are ready. That is how we grow. Guy's face brightened up after that. So what do you say? Let's give it another go. Haku quickly nodded his head a couple of times. He turned around and was surprised to find Naruto was already back in his fighting stance. Had he known that Guy was going to come out on top of that argument? Haku had a feeling it may have been from personal experience. Their sensei was truly an impressive shinobi. Don't expect me to go any easier on you this time. Haku settled into his stance as Naruto shouted. I wouldn't expect anything like it. He gave Naruto a small smirk. He would definitely do better this time. Ready, go. This time both Haku and Naruto raced at each other. If the blonde was surprised by Haku's new tactic, he didn't show it. Naruto and Haku both cocked their fists back and sent them forward. Their fists collided with a loud smack. Neither boy showed any sign of pain though. Naruto immediately brought his left knee up. Haku brought his up at the same time. They both connected as well. What the hell? Naruto jumped backwards and Haku mimicked him. They both began stalking one another in a circle. You're copying my fighting style. Naruto studied his opponent carefully. Not exactly. I am just reading your movements and matching them. Haku explained blandly. That's the same thing. Naruto's face scrunched up in anger. I can't help it if you make your movements so obvious. Haku taunted. Let's see you say that when I shove your face in the dirt. Naruto charged at him again. Haku matched his charge. They both jumped in the air and delivered a spinning kick. As with the last two blows, their feet collided. Naruto smirked and pushed off, intending to knock Haku backwards. To his chagrin, Haku pushed off at the same moment. They both did a backflip and skidded on the grassy earth. Now you're starting to piss me off. They both ran at each other again. Instead of throwing fists though, they ran straight past each other, then both stopped hard and spun around. Naruto's backhanded fist met forearm to forearm with Haku's. The group to the side watched the sparring match with great interest. That is incredible, Guy-sensei. He looks just like a mirror of Naruto, copying his every move like that. He must be reading the slight tensions in Naruto's body to know what he is going to do. Well spotted, Lee. Yes, Haku indeed has an incredible pair of eyes and reflexes. To not only be able to predict Naruto's moves, but match them flawlessly takes years of practice. Few without possession of the Sharingan are capable of it. Surely there are weak points to that fighting style though. Hinata whispered as she watched with an active Byakugan. Yes, of course. For instance, that wouldn't work if Naruto was using his clones or Lee had his weights off. Nor would it be possible for him to mimic your Juken. However, in a fight of just taijutsu, it proves most effective. Guy held a finger up as he explained all his points. Yes, but it is also not advantageous here, is it? I mean, Naruto has far more stamina than he. It will only be a while before he starts to slow down and Naruto nails a powerful punch. Lee was busy writing down notes of everything his sensei had just said. Good point, Lee, but you are forgetting one thing. Guy said with a knowing wink. Oh, what is that, Guy-sensei? Please tell me. Lee begged, his pencil and notepad ready to go. Naruto's temper. Lee quickly scribbled it down. Naruto would normally outlast him in this. However, if he loses his cool, which in turn causes him to lose his focus, Haku will overpower him. They're squaring off again. Hinata interrupted. Guy and Lee both turned their attention back to the fight. That does it. I'm gonna make you regret pissing me off. Naruto charged forward with all his might. Haku stood still this time, a victorious smirk on his face. Just as Naruto reached him, Haku stepped to the side but kept his leg out. Naruto tripped over it. The blonde started flailing. Suddenly, his flailing arms grabbed onto the front of Haku's shirt. Ha! I got you now. Naruto's anger was now replaced by his own smirk. He brought his other fist from down low to swing at Haku. It took the other boy the barest of a second to figure out what had happened. Naruto had faked his anger and let himself get tripped. This had caused Haku to drop his own guard. Clever but not good enough. Haku threw his own punch. The angle wasn't right for Haku this time though. Their fists skidded right by each other and continued on to nail one another in the cheek. Naruto lost his grip on Haku and fell forever. Haku lost his own balance from the force of the blow and fell back the other way. They both lay there in the dirt, panting heavily, and with a bruised cheek. Yet each one also bore a big grin on their face. Guess that one's a tie, huh? Naruto stood himself up and offered a hand to his opponent. Haku hesitated a moment before grabbed it. Yeah, that means I'm improving. Next round will be my win for sure. You wish, Naruto said as he started taking steps back. That'll be enough actually. Naruto turned to give his sensei a disappointed look. The others need a turn. Besides, you and Haku can have your final bout later. Alright, Naruto grumbled, walking back over to his team. Haku tried hard to hide his own disappointment. It was a strange feeling. This competitiveness was not something Haku had ever felt before. He definitely didn't dislike it though. On the contrary, he felt stronger because of it. And so, the next 2 hours flew by for Haku as he sparred with his fellow genin. He won a couple matches and he lost a couple. The only one of the group who actually came out undefeated was Lee. Not that it was unexpected. Taijutsu was all he had to rely on after all. It was all over too soon in Haku's opinion. He was exhausted, sweaty, and covered in dirt, but he had had fun. He had never had fun with others his age and it was truly a different experience. Okay team, now here's what's going to happen. Guy called as they all assembled around him. We are going to part for 2 hours, and then we shall meet back up here, where I will tell you about that surprise. The air of excitement from the group was practically overflowing. So enjoy yourselves, and be ready for hard work when you return. Yash. Naruto, let us make haste to Ichiraku. Lee was about ready to bolt but he noticed Naruto's hesitance. Do you not want to go? No, not that. Naruto shook his head. I just gotta talk with Guy-sensei about something important, so you go on ahead. Are you sure? I could wait for you. Lee offered. You wouldn't want to keep Ayame-ne-chan waiting, would you? Lee gasped at his question. You are right, I must make due haste to her. Be sure to come as quickly as your flames will allow you. Lee was off like a rocket. What's this about, Naruto? If you want to know the secret I won't tell you early. Naruto shook his head. No, it's different. It's about Lee. Guy gave Naruto a puzzled stare. What about Lee? He seemed most youthful to me. Naruto shared a look with Hinata. Well, you see, Guy-sensei. Last night, Lee accidentally got some sake. Naruto stopped his explanation as he noticed his sensei's entire face go white. Haku looked on with interest. This was news to him. How is the establishment? Guy managed to choke out. You know about what happened, Guy-sensei. The man who finally stopped Lee said something about him being a natural Sukin fighter. What is that? Guy's eyes widened, mentioned at the name of another person. What other person? Who stopped him? Guy had a bad feeling in the pit of his gut. I don't know. Some weird guy with one eye and silver hair. Kakashi, my youthful rival, you strike in devastating blows yet. This was a problem. Lee's Sukin abilities were supposed to be kept a secret. They had been his trump card against his rival's team. Now he knew about it. Guy-sensei. Guy shook his head. A Sukin fighter is someone who specializes in fighting while intoxicated. It is a tricky art to master. But if perfected, is almost impossible to devise a counter-attack against. Lee may have had an ancestor in his past that was won because Lee's skill in it is top-notch. So you've seen it before. Guy nodded to Naruto's question. Only once, right after Lee learned the Omate Renge. The result was disastrous. It was Naruto's turn to nod his head. I can say the same. I thought he was scary strong in taijutsu before. But this was just ridiculous. Naruto shuddered at yesterday's memory. Yes, no matter what, keep Lee away from alcohol. I take it he doesn't remember. Naruto nodded again. Keep it that way for now. Now I've got some preparing to do, I'll see you back here in 2 hours. With that, Guy was gone. You have got to tell me that story. Haku turned to Naruto. The second Guy had left. Right, we'll tell it on the way to Ichiraku's. Naruto stuck his hand out and Hinata took it. With that, the group started walking out of the clearing. 2 hours later. Man, I wonder what this big surprise is. I can't even make a guess here. Naruto walked slightly ahead the rest of the group he was with. They were all heading back to the training ground to meet up with their sensei. Yosh. I hope it is the newest model of training weights. Lee's eyes sparkled at the thought. New training weights. Is that really the most you hope for out of life? Haku felt just a little sorry for the spandex-clad shinobi. I don't know, but do you guys think it has to do with Zabuza-san and Tenten-san? Hinata said curiously. What do you mean by that? Hinata pointed instead of answering Naruto's question. He looked forward and standing in the training ground with their sensei was Zabuza and Tenten. Now that's strange. I am more curious than ever now. Lee suddenly took off into the training ground. After a brief pause the rest of the group followed his pace. Tenten. It brings back memories of my youthful days seeing you again. Lee dove at Tenten for a hug. The girl quickly stepped out of the way. Without her there, Lee flew into the ground. Come on Lee. We've talked about this. Hugs are okay, but none of them flying ones. Also, what do you mean youthful days? It's only been a month. Tenten smiled at Lee after her rant and offered him a hand. Lee accepted it and she lifted him up. It really isn't the same without you guys. Old friend. Haku whispered to Naruto curiously. Old teammate, me and Hinata are Lee's second group. Naruto whispered back. I see. Haku then picked up his voice. Zabuza-san, I am surprised to see you up so early. I take it Guy-san is the cause. Zabuza snorted. Of course he is. You better be thankful to me for this too, Haku. Thankful? I don't understand. Haku suddenly took notice of a sheathed katana in Zabuza's hand. I will now explain. Guy interrupted any further conversation. Naruto, Lee, Hinata, Haku. Today, you will all begin a different form of training. Even me. Haku pointed to himself. Yes, even you. Guy reached into his back pouch and removed his nunchaku. Today, you all begin learning to wield a weapon. But Guy-sensei, I can already use kunai and shuriken. Naruto interrupted. Guy shook his head a couple times. That is not what I mean. You will all learn to use one certain weapon. You will train with it daily. You are to become as familiar with the weapon as you are with yourself. Lee, these are for you. Guy handed a wide-eyed Lee the nunchaku. Really, these are mine. Guy-sensei. Lee looked on the verge of tears. Yes, the nunchaku is the weapon I am most familiar with. Therefore, it will be I who will teach you how to wield them. Guy boasted proudly. But Guy-sensei, what about the rest of us? Does that mean we will get a different teacher? Hinata was starting to see why Zabuza and Tenten might be here. You catch on quickly as always. Yes, while I regret to say it, I am not qualified to teach you in other weapons. So I found suitable people who could. Guy turned to Haku. I assume you know who you will be training with. Haku gave a barely visible nod. Zabuza couldn't help but laugh at this. Cat got your tongue boy. It's about time I teach you the way of the sword anyway. Someday I need to pass Kubikiri Hako onto someone after all. Zabuza had never seen a bigger smile from Haku his whole life. Hey, sensei, what does that leave for us? Naruto pointed excitedly between himself and Hinata. Yes, you too. I'll start with you Hinata. To be frank, I don't know what kind of weapon to teach you. Hinata's head dropped a little in disappointment. But do not worry, that is why I called Tenten here. She is going to go over a bunch of different weapons with you. Once you have one that you are comfortable with, you and Tenten can begin your training with it. Hinata looked over at the older girl. Let's do our best, Hinata-chan. Tenten smiled brightly at her. Yes, thank you Tenten-san. I look forward to working with you. Hinata bowed slightly to her. Alright, well if you don't mind, I am going to take her over to our training ground, Guy-sensei. Tenten walked over and patted Hinata on the shoulder. Yes, that is most excellent. Hinata, remember to take a lunch and meet up with us at 3 for work on your Juken style. Guy waved his student and former student off. Well then, I saw a good river for me and the boy to train on. Zabuza motioned for Haku to follow him. Be sure Naruto is on time today. Zabuza called back as the two were walking away. What did he mean by that? Naruto asked curiously. I'll explain later. Guy waved his question off. Now Naruto, your weapons training will have to wait a while to begin. What, why? Naruto asked before Guy had even finished speaking. Lee even looked at his sensei curiously for the reason. Well, the thing is, I haven't exactly worked it out with the man I want to teach you. Guy rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. A bad habit he had picked up from his blonde student. Well, who is it at least? When can I meet him? He meets up with his team at 10. They always eat at a Korean barbecue before. You mean Shikamaru's sensei? Asuma or something? Guy didn't even try to hide his surprise. You know him? Well, I wouldn't say know him, but I've met him once. I was asking one of his students for a favor. Naruto shivered at the memory. So what exactly is it he uses? Guy sighed in defeat. There was no hiding anything from his students anymore, was there? Asuma-san specializes with chakra knives. That sounds awesome. What did they do? Naruto interrupted. If you would let me keep talking, I would tell you. Naruto gave a guilty look and Guy continued. You channel your chakra into them and depending on your chakra affinity, they gain a certain special property. Naruto stared at him blankly. You don't know what chakra affinities are, do you? He shook his head. Every shinobi has at least one affinity. For instance, say you were a fire affinity, the most common one here in the fire country, you would have a better knack for fire-style jutsu. This doesn't mean you can't use water or earth ones per se, they just won't come as naturally to you. When Guy finished he noticed both Naruto and Lee hurriedly scribbling everything he said down onto notepads. When did you get a notepad too? Guy looked back and forth between his two students. Bushy brow just gave me one when you launched into the technical description. I gotta say, these things are pretty handy. Naruto admired his new notepad while Guy shook his head in disbelief. So, Guy-sensei, how do I know what my natural affinity is? Good question. There are special papers to tell you, but we are just going to wait until you use the chakra knives to find out. What if my affinity doesn't match Asuma's, will he still train me? Asuma-san has a wind affinity. The least common here in the Leaf Village. It is not likely you will share in this. I am at least hoping he will teach you the basics. Guy explained. If you don't think our affinities will be the same, why have me learn it at all? Naruto was really stumped by his sensei's logic. The knives are a perfect choice for you. You have so much chakra readily available that I think you could use those knives in a way like no one before. Call it a gut feeling, but when looking up weapons last night for you, I knew those had to be the ones. Guy patted his gut for emphasis. Well, if your gut told you so, then I'm all for. Naruto could understand a gut feeling quite well. He listened to his all the time. I'm glad. Lee, we shall train while we wait. Guy turned his attention to his oldest student. Yes, Guy-sensei. Lee swung his nunchaku around until he hit himself in the head with one end. Guy had a lot of work to do. Okay, tonfa aren't really your thing either. Tenten sighed and looked at all the scattered weapons they had gone across. Hinata had shown a little bit of talent in some and next to none in others. Sorry, Tenten-senpai. Hinata used the honorific Tenten had preferred. She wasn't big on having san or sensei on the end of her name. Please let me use the next weapon. How about this one, kind of nostalgic don't you think? Tenten pulled out her kusarigama. Hinata of course recognized it instantly. It was the very weapon Tenten had used to defeat Naruto in a one-on-one spar. I will give it a try. Hinata reached forward and tentatively grabbed a hold of it. She swung the ball end around a few times while slicing with the sickle end. You're not too bad at that one actually. I'll explain a little about it if you want. Hinata gave it a couple more of experimental swings before she stopped. I don't think I would feel comfortable using this. I understand that its main use is to bind the opponent with the chain and then strike with the sickle, but I do not think I would feel comfortable doing that. Tenten gave a slight frown at the young Hyuga girl. So you're not a big fan of killing people up close, huh? Kinda both fortunate and unfortunate you were born a Hyuga then. Hinata understood what she was saying. Specializing in her clan's taijutsu meant she never had to tear apart her opponent's skin to get to them. It also meant she had to be close to take their lives though. Well, I hadn't really planned on recommending these, but how about bow and arrows? Tenten pulled the weapon in question out from her scroll. It's easy enough to use, here watch. Hinata activated her Byakugan and watched as Tenten strung the bow and then pulled an arrow from her quiver. Tenten then knocked the air, turned towards the target and fired. She hit right in the center of one of the targets in the training field. Okay, now you try. Hinata grabbed the bow from Tenten. She then took the arrow that was handed to her. She did exactly what Tenten had done and knocked the arrow. When she let go to fire, the back of the arrow snapped downwards and nailed Hinata in the arm. She let out a hiss of pain as she dropped the bow and held onto her forearm where the arrow had hit. Oh, Hinata, are you okay? Tenten ran forward and inspected the damage. That'll leave a welt, but you should be okay. She then let out a sigh. Well, let's see what to try next. No. Hinata caught the older Kunoichi off guard. I want to try again, please. Tenten just shrugged. Suit yourself. Hinata nodded her thanks and picked the bow and arrow back up. She knocked it again and aimed at the target Tenten had shot at. This time, when she pulled back, the arrow flew straight and true. It split Tenten's arrow into pieces and took the place of where it had been. Wow, now that was a good shot. Tenten punched Hinata in the shoulder. Looks like we found your weapon. Hinata nodded excitedly. Yes. Naruto, Lee and their sensei waited outside the restaurant for Asuma and his team to come out. Lee was swinging his nunchaku around the whole time. He was already making good progress at it and Naruto was starting to feel just a little jealous. Finally, after nearly an hour of waiting, the team was walking out of the restaurant. Asuma quickly caught sight of Guy and his students and started walking towards them. Asuma's students looked confused at his change of direction but quickly saw Naruto and figured it out. Or more accurately, Ino recognized Naruto and the boy from the picture. Naruto, I thought I told you I won't go out with him. I should really kick your ass. Ino started stomping up to an incredibly frightened Naruto. Wait, it's not like that this time. Guy-sensei has a question for your sensei. Naruto ignored the confused looks from Guy and Lee as he hid face behind his arms. He really hoped Ino didn't hit too hard. Fortunately for him, Ino had just noticed Naruto's sensei, and was gaping in horror at the man. Ino's fashion disaster sirens were going off in every section of her brain. Speak to me, you say. Well, what is it you need, Guy-san? Asuma said after he took a long drag from his cigarette. Guy clasped his hands in front of himself and dropped to his knees. Asuma backed up in surprise and dropped his cigarette. I beseech you, train Naruto in the use of chakra knives. Asuma's students jumped back from the man's booming voice. Wah, Asuma said unintelligibly. After a good second he pulled himself together and let out a couple of coughs. Why should I do that? What's in it for me? I could train your students in youthful vigor. Guy offered, still on his knees. I know exactly what you mean by that, and I guarantee you could never pull that off with this group. Besides, there is no way Naruto has the same wind affinity as me. It would be impossible for me to teach him. Asuma was frantically trying to calm the man down. There were a lot of onlookers already. I beg you to try anyways. Asuma thought hard for a way out of this. Suddenly, an idea came to him. I'll tell you what, I heard from Kakashi you like to make bets. Guy's head snapped up at that. If you win a game of shogi, I'll train Naruto. If you lose, you have to find someone else. I accept. Guy was immediately on his feet. Take me to this shogi board. Asuma draped his arm around Guy's shoulder. Right away. Let's go, guys. Asuma led Guy away. The genin all shared a look. They then walked after their respective sensei. Asuma led them around to the back of his house. After just a couple moments of them waiting outside, Asuma returned with the shogi board. Here, you are. He set the game down in front of Guy, who immediately began setting his side up. Well, do not dawdle, Asuma-san. Take your seat and let's begin. Guy looked up to his opponent. Afraid not, Guy-san. You see, I didn't say your opponent was me. Your opponent is in fact Shikamaru. Asuma patted his laziest student hard on the back. Aw man, what a drag. Shikamaru groaned as he slinked over to the shogi board. Do I really have to play against such an energetic man? Despite his complaints, he set up his side of the field. It's your move first, Guy-san. Shikamaru said lazily. Hey, are you not taking us seriously? If you lose cause of him, you gotta train me. Naruto pointed irritably at the lazy boy. Naruto, you really are dumb, aren't you? Choji said through a mouthful of food. What was that? Naruto turned his angry attention to the plump boy. Shikamaru has never lost once in shogi, not even to Asuma-sensei. There's no way such a dumb-looking guy can win. Choji shoved more food in his mouth. You're kidding. Naruto suddenly had a bad feeling about this. He ran up to the board to cheer his sensei on. 10 minutes later and Shikamaru was staring with incredible intensity at the board. I can't believe it. I lost. He finally said. You what? For the second time Asuma lost his cigarette. He quickly ran up to the board. He hadn't bothered watching the game, he had been confident Shikamaru would win. After searching it for a few seconds he verified that Shikamaru had indeed lost. That's not possible. Ino voiced Choji's thoughts aloud. Ha 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 ha, sorry to tell you all but I happen to be a shogi fanatic myself. Anything to stay ahead of my youthful rival, Kakashi. Guy stood up and bowed down to a shocked Shikamaru. Your flames burn brightly within your head. It has been a long time since I was given such a youthful challenge. Now Asuma-san, I believe I won our bet. Of all the rotten luck, I would pick a game you were good at. I was so confident too. Asuma pulled out another cigarette and lit it. He then pulled out his chakra knives. Okay, Naruto, listen up. Asuma barked. Naruto immediately stood at attention and saluted. Yes Asuma-sensei. Asuma and his team were surprised by Naruto's reaction. Right, take this and channel chakra into it. I can't determine anything until I know what your affinity is. Asuma handed him the knife. Naruto, not too much, you know what tends to happen. Naruto nodded to Gai-sensei's warning. He channeled just a little bit of chakra into it. No one saw anything happen. Does it feel heavier? Perhaps a little hotter? Asuma asked curiously, reaching his hand out for the blade. Naruto shook his head. That knocks out earth and fire. Asuma's hand was a good 2 feet in front of the blade when he pulled back sharply. A small cut appeared on his hand. That's not possible. Asuma-sensei, you okay? Naruto asked worriedly. Asuma responded by pulling out a shuriken. Naruto, I am going to throw this a little to your right. I want you to swing at it but I don't want the blade to make contact. Just try to get it within a foot. Asuma pulled his arm back into throwing position. Right, I'm ready Asuma-sensei. Asuma let his shuriken fly. Naruto swung at it and missed like he was told. To everyone's surprise, the shuriken split in half anyways. Whoa, that was sweet. Naruto looked at the blade in awe. Well I'll be damned, he has the wind affinity after all. What luck. That makes 2 of us in the entire village. Asuma ran his hand through his hair. But Naruto, I thought your sensei told you to go light on the chakra. I have to put in a lot to get it to go that far. But this isn't a lot for me. If I was going all out something like this would happen. Naruto pointed the blade at the tree. Naruto, wait. Guy spoke too late. Fortunately there were no adverse effects. Instead the tree he pointed at had a hole in it, and the tree behind that, and the rock behind that. Lee went to inspect and the others thought he got lost after a while. Finally Lee reappeared. It went just short of a quarter mile, Gai-sensei. He reported. Asuma whistled while Choji and Ino's jaws hit the ground. Even Shikamaru's eyes widened slightly. Guess I've got no choice but to train him now. He could really hurt someone if he doesn't learn proper control. Naruto smiled brightly and bowed down before his new weapons trainer. Thank you, Asuma-sensei. Yeah, don't mention it, here take this one too. Asuma threw Naruto another one. I tend to wield them in pairs so you'll be learning that way too. Your agreement to teach Naruto is most appreciated, Asuma-san. However, we must leave you for now. Naruto and I have an appointment with another teacher in less than 15 minutes. Guy patted Naruto's shoulder. Geez, don't work him too hard. I expect you to start eating brunch with my team Naruto. We'll start practice immediately after that. Yes, Asuma-sensei. Naruto saluted him. Soon, Naruto, Lee and their sensei were off towards the Hokage Tower. What an incredible kid, wouldn't you guys say? Asuma looked around at his students. Huh, where's Shikamaru? Choji and Ino just noticed he was missing too. Shikamaru trailed a few buildings behind Guy and his students. Abruptly Guy came to a stop and turned around. Naruto and Lee turned around as well. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome. He walked up to the group of 3. Can I help you, Shikamaru-kun? Guy asked in a knowing voice. Shikamaru clenched his teeth. This guy was definitely smarter than he let on. Please, teach me to play shogi. He wouldn't meet Guy-sensei's eyes as he spoke. Of course. Shikamaru looked up in surprise. Just like that. Guy's smirk got bigger and Shikamaru knew he was in over his head. I have a requirement now for anyone I teach anything to. They must participate in my morning sparring sessions at 5 in the morning. Shikamaru had to concentrate, really had to keep his jaw in place. 5 in the morning was unheard of. Yet he really needed a stronger shogi opponent. Shikamaru cursed inside his head. I'll do it, he said through clenched teeth. Excellent. We'll work out the details when I see you tomorrow morning. Here is a map to get you there. Now if you'll excuse us, we are really running behind. Shikamaru nodded as he stared in amazement at the map. The nut job had actually known he was going to come ask him and had a map prepared already. I got to get back to my team anyways, he finally said as he turned and ambled his way back in the direction of his sensei's house. Man, what am I getting myself into? How troublesome. Guy checked the time again. Right. Let us make all due haste. He took to the rooftops followed by his students. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office, 2 men sat waiting for Guy and Naruto. They are late. I guess I should expect no less from Kakashi-senpai's equal. Patience, Ten Yamato. The Sandaime caught himself from using the man's old code name. Guy is not one to be late normally, I am sure there is a good reason. Just as he said this, Guy and his 2 students burst into the room. I apologize for the delay, Hokage-sama. Guy threw himself to the floor in apology. Me and my students will do 500 laps around Konoha on our hands to repent for such an error. Yamato wasn't sure what surprised him more. The idea of such a cruel form of punishment or the fact that his students looked rather excited by the prospect of it. To further his surprise, the Hokage burst out into laughter. Don't worry about it, Guy. You are hardly late at all. I hope Naruto is ready though. This man here is Yamato, he was a former Anbu but has taken a temporary leave so he can train Naruto for us. You are too kind, Hokage-sama. Guy was up immediately and in front of Naruto's newest teacher yet. The man's gaze kind of creeped Yamato out a little. I recognize you. You're that cute little kohai that was always following Kakashi around. Well, I wouldn't exactly say followed around. Guy suddenly took Yamato's hand in both of his. Please take good care of Naruto in this dangerous training. I wouldn't be able to bear it if anything happened to any one of my cute little students. Guy looked on, the verge of tears. Ah, of course, no harm will befall him with me around. In fact, today we won't even begin any training. I simply intend to open his seal a little so he is capable of letting more chakra through. Yamato leaned his face back slightly. Oh, excellent. Do you mind if Lee and I stay for this? Yamato shook his head. All right, Lee, let us take a seat and observe. Guy and Lee were immediately in seats. Yamato blinked twice to verify that it had happened so quickly. His eyes then settled on Naruto, who still stood in the middle of the room. Hello there, Naruto-kun. My name is Yamato. It is a pleasure to meet you. Yamato walked up to Naruto and stuck hand out. Naruto eyed him suspiciously. You can really teach me to control the fox. Yamato couldn't blame the boy for his skepticism. I cannot really teach you. I am more going to help you teach yourself. Naruto stared at him curiously. Maybe it would make more sense if I demonstrated my abilities. Yamato ran his hands through a set of seals. A tree started to sprout up next to him. Awesome, how the heck did you do that? Naruto's previous insecurities forgotten. You could say that through an interesting series of events I now possess the same genetic makeup of the Shadaime. Yamato patted his fully grown tree. As you are of course aware, he was capable of controlling the Biju to a certain degree. He was. That's incredible. That explains why you're training me. Naruto started climbing the tree. He really didn't know that, and when did he get up there? It occurred to Yamato that this might take more work than he had originally thought. Naruto, come down here and let me take a look at your seal. Naruto immediately complied and jumped down. He then pulled his shirt off and began channeling chakra. Soon the seal was visible. The Yondaime was an incredible person. This seal is still in perfect condition, hardly any chakra is even getting through. Yamato inspected it carefully. Okay, don't worry, I am going to tamper with your seal just a little. All I'm doing is making it so you can consciously pull more chakra out of it on your own. Yamato immediately went to work on it. Say, Yamato-sensei, or there are risks on me pulling out its chakra when you've changed the seal. Naruto looked down curiously as Yamato went about his slightly ticklish work. There are always risks. The fox will try to control your mind. The more chakra you let through, the more influence it will get. Yamato didn't pause or look up to answer Naruto's question. That should do it. Already. Naruto looked down curiously. His seal didn't look all that different to him. He'd never really studied it either though. Yes, now we are going to just test it today. The way it works now is by visualizing your seal. Once you've done that, just image yourself pulling at it. The harder you pull and the more chakra you'll get. Yamato ran through seals as he was talking. 4 pillars rose up around Naruto. These are just to absorb the chakra you leak out. We are not going to work on controlling it today. Normally, when you pull out chakra from the seal, it stays until it is all used up. Depending on how much you pull depends on how long it lasts. Right, so just pull out a little bit today and we're done. Naruto asked as he began to focus and visualize the seal like Yamato said. Exactly, we'll work on maintaining your sanity tomorrow. Today is just to make sure it works and find out if there are any negative side effects from opening your seal up a little. Yamato held his hand up. A marking appeared upon it. Naruto nodded and became completely still. Everyone watched with bated breath to see what would happen. At first it was nothing. Then they began to feel it. An oppressive chakra started to hang in the air. Then they saw it. Red chakra began leaking out of Naruto's seal. Soon it began wrapping itself around his whole body. Naruto, how do you feel? Yamato questioned cautiously. I feel powerful. His voice came out slightly feral. Is this what it feels like to open the gates? Do you feel yourself? Yamato pressed on. Naruto gave him a confused look, but with his new slightly sharper teeth, it looked more like a snarl. I don't feel anything, I don't think he's in my mind. Naruto held his head as he talked. The chakra began disappearing. Soon it was all gone and Naruto looked completely normal again. Man, I feel kinda dizzy. Naruto swayed a little and leaned on one of the pillars Yamato had erected. That's not surprising. I'd say today went quite well. I look forward to training you more in the future. Is noon good for you? Naruto seemed to think about it for a minute. One would be better. I got weapons training that starts at 10. Yamato nodded a couple times. One it is then. Yamato stuck his hand back out. This time Naruto took it without hesitation. Yeah, thank you for all your help, Yamato-sensei. Guy stood up and walked over. Yes, we are all overjoyed by your youthful assistance. May you flames burn just as bright when we next meet. Guy also shook his hand. Yosh. Naruto, you were most impressive in your foxy aura. Lee walked up and slapped Naruto hard on the back. Guy checked the time as this was going on. We still have plenty of time. You are both dismissed until 3 o'clock. At that time Lee, you are to report to the typical training field. Naruto, I need you to report to the place where you learned how to water walk. Naruto gave his sensei a confused look. Just trust me, you'll be glad you did. Alright, Guy-sensei. I believe you, let's go Lee. I got a bowl of ramen with my name on it. Naruto turned to walk out. Yosh. I am yearning to meet up with Ayame-chan. Lee followed him out the door. The Sandaime let out a big sigh once they were gone. Are you really sure you want to go through with this guy? Both Jonin turned to face their superior. I have no right to tell him no. I explained myself yesterday, Hokage-sama. Yamato peered curiously at his senpai. Naruto-kun shows a lot of promise. I feel that I can properly guide him through his training. You have no need to fear. Yamato bowed down before the Hokage. The old man let out another big sigh. I know. I trust both of your judgments. I just worry for the boy is all. He's had such a hard life. Naruto stumbled his way through the forest towards the river. It always amazed him that the village could have such greenery within the village bounds. It spoke volumes for the village's size. Soon Naruto stumbled out of the brush and onto the clearing. There he was faced with Zabuza and Haku as they were squaring off with their swords. Haku was panting heavily and appeared to have various cuts throughout his body. Man, you guys are still going at this. Naruto made his presence known as he stepped onto the water with both of them. They both lowered their blades as they acknowledged Naruto's sudden appearance. 3 o'clock already. Guess we really lost track of time. Zabuza said as he walked up to Naruto. I don't understand. What's going on here, Zabuza? Naruto looked curiously between his two companions. That's Zabuza-sensei to you. The former Kiri shinobi pointed proudly at his chest. Zabuza-sensei. Why would I call you that? Naruto scratched his head. Were you dropped on the head as a baby? I am officially your Suiden ninjutsu instructor. I'll be training you and Haku together every day at 3 while Guy continues to work on your other teammates' taijutsu. Naruto's eyes grew wide. Are you serious? You're going to be teaching us kick-ass water moves. Naruto started jumping around in excitement. This is awesome. I can't believe Guy-sensei finally agreed to let me learn ninjutsu. Calm down there. I won't deal with none of that hyperactive crap. Naruto immediately quit jumping. Listen, learning to use elemental ninjutsu is tricky and sometimes dangerous. If you mess up you could seriously hurt yourself or others. You must learn to remain calm, especially for Suiden. It requires fluid, precise actions to maintain properly. So what are you going to teach us first? Zabuza resisted the urge to hit the kid upside the head. Instead he settled for a big sigh. First is the Sushin, Suiban. It is the perfect technique to teach you how to control the water and bend it to your will. The seals are Nei, Inu, Ushi. Zabuza ran through the seals. Practice those until you have them down. I will then give you a demonstration. Naruto and Haku nodded and began running through the seals for a few minutes. Zabuza watched until he felt they were ready. Alright, that should be good enough. Now observe. He ran through the seals again but this time the water next to him rose up slowly. Oh, that's awesome. It looks almost like a snake. Naruto shouted with excitement. Suddenly the whip flew at Naruto and wrapped itself around him. Naruto lost his balance and fell down into the water. A second later and he came up gasping for air. What the hell was that for? Naruto pulled himself back up so he was standing on the water again. For talking out of turn. Now I want you both to try and make this same thing. Making it will be the easy part. Getting it to go where you want and work the way you want is the hard part. Zabuza stood back as his 2 students started running through the seals. Naruto, who was still a little pissed, put more chakra in it than he had intended. A massive wave rose itself up from under his feet, knocking him over and forcing Haku to break his jutsu and jump away. When Naruto fell the jutsu collapsed and Naruto went falling back under the water again. He came back out gasping for breath. Too much chakra. Captain Obvious said as Naruto cursed and pulled himself back up again. I got it this time. Naruto ran through the seals again. This time one just a little thicker than Zabuza's came up out of the water. Naruto brought it up to his shoulder level in a straight line and stopped it there. How's that? Naruto looked over to Haku to see that he had accomplished the same thing. Not bad runts. Like I said though, any fresh genin can do that. Now I want you two to launch them at each other. Don't worry about hurting one another. Pain tends to be a powerful teaching tool. Zabuza laughed a little too hard at his own joke. Haku's whip started flying at Naruto. The boy almost took a step back on instinct. He needn't have worried. Haku's whip cut off at the base and the rest plunged into the water before it even made it halfway to him. My turn. Naruto focused on shooting his whip towards Haku. Suddenly it set off but instead of flying at Haku it just smacked down into the ground. It came up and smacked again. Oh crap, what am I doing? Naruto panicked and then his whip turned and slapped him in the face. Naruto fell into the water for the 3rd time that day. When he came up his ears were graced his Zabuza's laughter. Yeah, really funny. If you're our sensei you should be trying to teach us how to control this thing. Naruto pointed an accusing finger at the older man. Zabuza's laughter immediately stopped. I told you. You must remain calm. The reason your whip flew out of control is because you are trying to pace yourself too quickly. You need to learn to slow down. Naruto looked down at Zabuza's harsh words. What did I do wrong? Zabuza-sensei. Haku spoke up for the first time since Naruto had arrived. You had your whip under control, but as you stretched it out you didn't put enough water into its base. When it was severed from its source you lost control of it. The best way to fix that is simply to apply more chakra. Now again. Haku and Naruto both ran through the seals and rose the whips up. Haku's flew first again. This time it made it all the way to Naruto and nicked him right in the cheek. Naruto almost rose his hand to rub it but stopped himself. He had to stay calm. He wasn't going to lose control here. His whip took off again and this time flew at Haku. It made jagged turns and looked more like a zigzag and Naruto ended up overestimating its turn and it flew right over Haku's shoulder. They both let their jutsu collapse. That wasn't bad. Haku has a natural advantage over you with his water affinity, of course. You are too tense, that's why the jutsu was going all over the place. Don't force calmness on yourself like that. Take deep breaths and let it come naturally. It'll work out, trust me. Zabuza's voice was much calmer now, it almost seemed hypnotic to Naruto like that. On his next try, Naruto's came out a little crooked at points, but it managed to nail Haku in the shoulder. Haku had gone for Naruto's other cheek. I really think I'm getting this, Naruto said excitedly as he let the jutsu drop while rubbing his bruising cheeks. Don't get too excited. You both have a long ways to go. You have to learn how to wrap it around your opponent yet, use it as a shield against small weapons such as shuriken, and learn to ride on it yet. We get to learn to ride it. Naruto felt himself wanting to jump around again. One look from Zabuza expelled that thought though. You both have a long ways to go until then. Today I'm not going to teach you any more than I have. You will both do it until you don't even have to think about it. Now go. Naruto and Haku immediately started up again. An hour and a half later, and Guy, Hinata, and Lee were greeted by the sight of Naruto and Haku both bruised and slightly wet as they walked into the training ground. Oh, Naruto-kun. Hinata ran up to her boyfriend upon seeing the condition he was in. Are you alright? It doesn't sting too bad, does it? I got some healing salve, just a moment. Whoa, there, hold on Hinata. I'm fine. The fox will have these all patched up in a few minutes anyways. Haku might want that salve though. Naruto gestured to Haku, who definitely looked more beat up than Naruto. It's funny, he got me way more than I got him and he still looks worse for it. Hinata reluctantly handed Haku the salve. Thank you. Haku mumbled as he applied it to all his visible bruise marks. This stuff actually works pretty well. Haku stared incredulously at the tiny bottle as instant relief washed over him. Of course, Hinata made it herself. Naruto wrapped his arm around Hinata's shoulder. She's a genius, isn't she? Hinata felt herself blushing slightly under Naruto's praise. Yes, do you mind if I hold on to this? Haku asked as he held out the salve. Hinata shook her head and Haku stuck it into one of his pouches. So, Hinata, did you get to choose a weapon? I just realized that we haven't seen each other since 9 this morning. We're going to have to go to Ichiraku's together after this. What did Guy-sensei teach you guys today? Naruto bombarded Hinata with talk before she could even reply to his first question. I did get a weapon. I choose the bow and arrows. They are amazing, the feeling you get when firing them is thrilling. Tenten-senpai says I'm a natural. Guy-sensei just had me work on Yuho Soshiken some more today. He says I need to build up my chakra reserve so I am not completely drained. After using it, I would also really enjoy eating together afterwards. I missed you today. Naruto blushed slightly at the last bit and he looked the other way, hoping she wouldn't see it. How cute. I greatly enjoy seeing young love and embarrassment. Guy boomed with his hands on his hips. Reminds me of my youthful days as a genin. Guy-sensei, you had a girlfriend when you were a kid? Naruto asked curiously. Even Lee had to look at his sensei questioningly. Guy leaned forward very closely to them all. It's a secret, he whispered with great breaks in between. Ah, come on Guy-sensei, no fair. Naruto shouted while the others looked disappointed. Naruto, you aren't upset at all that I've referred you to Zabuza for teaching, are you? Guy quickly changed the course of the conversation. Naruto gave his sensei a confused look. No, why would I be? I just don't want you thinking I don't want to train you is all. Remember, no matter how many senseis you get, you are my pupil. Guy made a big point of emphasizing the my. Guy-sensei, Naruto's was touched by how much his teacher really cared. I understand why you let Zabuza train me, he's a master at Sweden after all. I'm more surprised he actually agreed to train me. He's taken an interest in you. Haku answered before Guy could. At Naruto's questioning look, Haku continued explaining. Zabuza-sensei has always been fascinated by special abilities. That is why I was able to travel with him. So he's only interested in me because of the fox. Naruto sounded slightly hurt. Enough about that. We must get back into our usual routine. I trust you all remember the pace you were when we left the village. Guy was met with nods from each of his students, albeit Naruto took a while to respond. Good. Haku, we'll need to set up a schedule for you. I'll just see how you do tonight and I'll have one written up for you tomorrow. I'm sure I'll be able to keep pace with whatever exercise they're doing. Haku smiled good-naturedly. He'd never been more wrong in his life. Chapter 13, Invitation. The Hokage leaned back in his chair and peered at the two Jonin that stood before him. Guy stood at his usual exuberant attention. He was practically bouncing off the balls of his feet. Kakashi stood the complete opposite. His shoulders were drooped and his nose was buried deeply in the usual orange book. I assume you both know why I called you here today. The elderly shinobi finally spoke. Of course, came Guy's expected response. Kakashi said nothing but his book did vanish to show his attention. Later today I will call all of the Jonin sensei together. Today is the day we decide who is ready for the Chunin exams and who isn't. The Hokage paused to take a drag on his pipe. The two of you are a special circumstance. Your teams will compete in the exams. Unless of course you want to forfeit and accept your punishment for losing the bet. My team is more than ready. They will blow away the competition. Of course that means your team as well, Kakashi. Guy sent a sideways smile towards his youthful rival. You may be surprised. I haven't been so easy on my team either. The Hokage had not expected that. Apparently, Kakashi was taking the bet more seriously than he thought. Then again, a chance to see Guy in something other than spandex was a good motivator. I would expect nothing less from you. Guy was of course unsurprised by his rival's claim. What are your teams doing at this moment? I gave them the day off when I received your summons. Guy returned his full attention back to his superior. My team is probably waiting for me to show up, Kakashi said after an innocent moment of thought. The Sandaime let out a tired sigh at Kakashi's typical antics. Take these. They are the application forms for your team. Make sure they fill them out and have them ready for the exams. He held them out to his two subordinates. The exams start in 1 week. I understand, both Jonin said simultaneously. One more thing before you both leave. I want you to meet the proctors for this exam. The Hokage held his hand up in the air. The two Jonin turned around just as the proctors walked through the door. Guy's eyes widened as he caught sight of them. You guys. Meanwhile, Naruto and Lee sat inside their favorite ramen stand. Neither had their usual energy though. Something not unnoticed to the stand owner and his daughter. What's wrong with you guys today? How can you both look so depressed? Did something happen? Ayame couldn't take it anymore. Both of them sat hunched over the table. Neither had said anything, not even to order. Lee looked up first. I do not understand, he shouted. Ayame didn't even flinch. She was long since used to her somewhat boyfriend's loud voice. What don't you understand? She chided. She was getting nowhere like this. Why did Guy-sensei give us the day off? It is not that time of week. We are making such great progress too. This is going to completely throw off our rhythm. What shall we? Lee's rant was cut short as Ayame slapped him upside the head. Are you joking me? Her voice practically reached his level. That's what you're upset about. I know you are really into working out and everything, but that's just ridiculous. Besides, you don't need him to train more. Just improve on what you know. Lee's face suddenly lit up. Ayame nearly fell over the counter. And don't give me that great idea face. Any normal person would have thought of that immediately. She then turned her attention to Naruto. And what about you? Don't tell me it's the same reason as him. The boy in question finally turned his head up. It's not that, he said. Then what? Ayame leaned in closer. Hinata went off to do extra practice and left me behind. Ayame wanted to hit him upside the head too. That's what I told you guys to do just now. Naruto's face suddenly lit up the same way as Lee's. Are you joking me? Ayame buried her face in her hands. You sure are a genius, Ayame-ne-chan. Naruto spun on his chair towards his teammate. What do you say, bushy brow? I say it is an excellent idea. Ayame-chan, get me a miso ramen first. Lee pumped his fist into the air. Naruto, while we wait, let us arm wrestle to strengthen our arm vitality. I like it. Naruto set his arm down on the counter. Ayame could only sigh. She turned around to place the order, but her dad was already making some. On 3. Lee grasped Naruto's hand in his. 1. Both of their arms tensed up. 2. Ayame walked over with the bowl her father had already prepared. 3. Ayame set bowl down just as they started. Or rather, just as Naruto lost. Lee's workout routine was still well ahead of Naruto's and it showed. He slammed Naruto's hand down just as the competition started. Unfortunately, there was now a bowl of ramen there. Their hands just barely hit the edge of the bowl, flipping it and sending it flying from the counter and out towards the street. They didn't see where it landed once it flew out there, but they definitely heard it. Hot. What the hell is this? It's freaking hot. Naruto and Lee quickly bolted outside of the store to see who it hit. They both stopped short outside of the stand. They weren't sure who it was they had hit, but one thing was for sure. He wasn't from around Konoha. Hey, does this belong to you guys? The man with face paint and a black cowl with what looked like cat ears said as he slammed the bowl down onto the street. It crashed loudly and pieces went flying everywhere. Neither of the two genin noticed though, because on the man's back was a big mummy-like object and across his forehead was a headband. One from Sunagaker. Hey, assholes, I'm talking to you. The Suna shinobi stepped forward and reached his hand out towards Lee. The two immediately jumped into action. Lee knocked his hand away and assumed his fighting stance. The unfamiliar shinobi stepped back and reached for the object on his back but paused. On any side of him was a clone of Naruto. What is a foreign shinobi doing here in Konoha? Lee demanded. The Suna shinobi made a face of confusion. What do you mean by that? Are you stupid? Answer the question. The Naruto to his right snarled. Instead of doing that, the cat-like shinobi chuckled. Bad move, punk, he whispered. Wah. The clone didn't get any farther as a giant blunt object crashed into its head and dispelled it. Damn, they're shadow clones, said the newcomer, a tall blonde kunoichi who held a giant metal object in one hand. She also wore a Suna headband. Without missing a beat, two of the remaining Narutos charged the new girl. At that same moment Lee and the last Naruto charged the one with face paint. Not good. He dropped down his mummy just as a chilly voice reached all their ears. That's enough. All movement stopped at once. Systematically they all turned their heads down the street to where a single red-headed shinobi stood. Gee Gaara. This isn't what it looks like. A glance from the petite-looking shinobi silenced the older Suna one. Kankuro. Temari. Both gulped as he spoke their names. Instead of disgracing yourselves further, just explain why we're here. Naruto and Lee had yet to move from their spots yet. Lee couldn't believe it. How could this little kid shake these two up so bad? He didn't look like much. He figured Naruto shared his thoughts but was surprised to find that Naruto seemed to be trembling as he stared at the boy as well. Right, well, we're here for the Chunin exams, of course. The one called Kankuro said aloud, not really looking at anyone in particular. Lee had to mentally kick himself. Of course, the Chunin exams. Now it all made sense. I assume you'll be participating as well. Gaara spoke up again. Lee was surprised to see that he was staring directly at Naruto. Oh of course we are. One of the Narutos managed to break from his stupor long enough to respond. Then as a fellow container, I look forward to the chance to be able to slaughter you. Lee's eyes nearly doubled in size as a malefic grin settled across the young genin's face. That look was not sane. And did he say fellow container? Was he referring to the Kyuubi? Naruto didn't respond this time. It was probably more accurate to say he couldn't respond. Let's go. Gaara spoke as he disappeared in a whirl of sand. Temari immediately leapt away herself but Kankuro paused. Hey kid, he said while looking at Naruto. The blonde's eyes didn't leave the spot that Gaara had just been at. My name's Naruto. His voice came out very dry. Naruto. I don't know who you are or why Gaara just selected you out. But I'd be really scared if I were you. That guy is dangerous. You'd be better off not competing in the exams now. Just a fair warning. Kankuro turned and jumped off without waiting for a response. The clones popped out of existence as Kankuro left. Lee walked up to the last remaining Naruto and placed his hand on his shoulder. Hey, you alright? Naruto seemed to snap out of his daze at Lee's touch. Bushy brow. Naruto turned and grabbed a hold of Lee's spandex. That guy, that kid. He's like me. He's exactly like me. Whoa there, Naruto. Lee rested his other hand on Naruto's other shoulder and took a couple small steps back. What do you mean? He has part of the Kyuubi sealed inside him too. Naruto shook his head quickly. Not the fox. No, it was something else. I don't know how I know though. I could just feel it. He was able to feel it too though. He knew we were similar. Naruto was breathing heavily now. Lee started to fear he was going to hyperventilate. Naruto. You have to calm down. You can't let this kid shake you up. He's gone now. Lee shook Naruto to try to get through to him. But I told him we were competing in the Chunin exams. I don't even know what those are. How do we even enter? Lee paused. He didn't have an answer now. At least not in entering. It just so happens, I have the forms to get you guys into the Chunin exams right here. Naruto and Lee both spun around to see Guy standing right there. Guy-sensei. They both turned and stood at attention in front of him. Guy looked between the two of them, trying to read their faces. You guys talk first. I'll explain the exams later. Both wasted no time in explaining the events of just a few minutes ago. I see. That is most troubling indeed. Guy looked between the two of his students. He then smiled brightly at them. Do not let it get you too down though. No matter how strong he is, I know you guys are stronger. Remember the intense training I've been putting you through. You guys can handle anything. He placed a hand on each of their shoulders. All the tension seemed to drain out of Naruto immediately. So what are the Chunin exams, Guy-sensei? Exactly what they sound like. They are going to test whether or not you are ready to become Chunin. Shinobi from all over the continent come to compete in them. And you are going to let us compete this year, Guy-sensei. Even though Naruto and Hinata are still fresh genin, Guy had told Lee and his team no last year for that very reason. I believe that with you there with them, they are more than ready. Have no fear. Guy gave the two of them a thumbs up. He then pulled out a sheet of paper for each of them. Have these filled out and ready within a week from now. I will then submit them and tell you both where to go to start your exams. Yes, Guy-sensei. They each took a paper and saluted. Now, where would Hinata happen to be? All three of you need to enter to be able to compete. Guy looked around briefly for his third pupil. She went to go do some training with Tenten. Naruto said somewhat bitterly. I see. Guy was glad they were getting along so well. The problem now was, Tenten was about to quickly become an enemy. One of the big ones they needed to do better than at that. If Hinata got too close to her, that could cause problems. Well, I am going to go find her then. Bring those with you tomorrow if you could. With that, their sensei was gone. Well, let's go find Asuma sensei's team. Naruto said excitedly. I wonder if they're competing too. All his past fears of Gaara seemed to be gone now. Lee was glad for now. If they were lucky they wouldn't run into that group at all. Yeah, let's go find them. Ready, aim, fire. Tenten and Hinata both released their arrows at the same time. 6 arrows slammed dead center into 6 different targets. Damn, Hinata, you got this down. Tenten punched her trainee lightly on the shoulder. Thank you, Tenten-senpai. Hinata smiled happily as she admired the result of all her hard work. No need to thank me. I'm getting way better at this whole archery thing now too. We're learning together. Tenten pulled more arrows from the quiver on her back. You ready to go again? How pointless. No matter how hard you work, the outcome won't change. Both girls spun their heads in the direction that the voice just came from. Sasuke emerged from behind the trees and walked up to the two of them slowly. Sasuke. Tenten looked at him, curiously. What are doing here? Where's Neji? She didn't see her remaining teammate around. What? You miss him? Hinata felt the temperature of the area drop a couple of degrees. No, I'm just surprised you aren't following him around like a lost puppy like you usually are. Sasuke sneered slightly at her. Look, I'm just here to give you this. Sasuke handed out the application form for the Chunin exams. Oh, I see he has you running his errands now. Tenten took the paper. Neji sure trained you well. Sasuke's ever-present scowl deepened a little. Tenten put the paper and turned to continue her practice. Hinata and Sasuke didn't move. Tenten fired an arrow perfectly into a target, breaking the arrow that was already in it. What, you waiting for a treat or something? No, I just felt I should inform you that training this girl is pointless. She was always meek and untalented in class. Just because she found out she has a knack for archery won't help her. She'll always be a failure. An arrow suddenly flew past his head, grazing his hair lightly. Sasuke didn't even flinch. Tenten turned her head in surprise to Hinata. Her Byakugan was active and she was making a face at Sasuke that Tenten didn't think she was capable of. I'm not the same as I was, Sasuke-san. Also, you are not Neji-ni-san, so quit trying to act like you are. Sasuke smirked. I could tell before you even let the arrow loose that it wouldn't hit me. My eyes don't miss anything these days. He turned and started to walk away. Speaking of your cousin, I could say the same about you. Hinata's Byakugan slowly faded and her face returned back to its usual calm demeanor. Tenten walked up and punched her lightly in the shoulder again. That was awesome, Hinata. Man, I wish I could do that sometimes. That guy can really get on my nerves. Hinata turned towards the older Kunoichi. You really don't get along with him at all. Tenten shook her head. At first I tolerated him and Neji outright despised him. I don't know what happened, but Sasuke started following him around. He was constantly asking for spars and he would often begin to repeat some of Neji's fate lines. Neji gradually accepted him. The two are practically brothers now. It makes me sick to my stomach. Tenten pulled out another arrow, spun, and fired without aiming. It hit its mark perfectly. Skilled as always, Tenten. Both Kunoichi instantly recognized that booming voice. Gai-sensei. Hinata spun and saluted while Tenten ran up to her old teacher. It's been a while. We haven't met since I started training Hinata. Tenten stopped just short of the tall man. Yes, and I can tell she has been improving remarkably. I knew I was right in trusting her to you for weapons training. Gai patted his old student lightly on the shoulder and then walked up to Hinata. This is for you. He held out an application. It is. To enter into the Chunin exams. Hinata finished his sentence for him. Well informed as usual. Have you received yours yet, Tenten? Tenten pulled her form out. Just a minute ago. I'm surprised you're letting your team compete this year. Two of them being newbies and all. Gai smiled and ruffled Tenten's hair. Of course, I have to compete with Kakashi after all. Gai let out a boisterous laugh. Of course. Tenten smiled at him. I forget sometimes that he is your eternal rival. He's just such a nonchalant guy most of the time. Damn that Kakashi and his hip attitude. Gai screamed pointlessly into the air. What kind of example are you setting for the children? No, I think you should be asking yourself that. Tenten whispered gently to Hinata who couldn't help but giggle. I must find and scold him right this minute. Gai disappeared only to reappear a second later. Have that filled. Out for tomorrow morning, Hinata. Gai was gone before Hinata could respond. What a crazy guy. Tenten joked to herself. What do you say, Hinata? Let's take the rest of today off. Yes, I must return home and fill this out immediately. I know how important this will be to Naruto-kun. Hinata smiled slightly to herself. What the hell do you mean you guys don't have any time to train this week? What the hell are you two doing? Naruto shouted at his ninjutsu instructor and partner. Look brat, it's classified. We got a secret mission going on for the next week. Zabuza spoke in the annoyed tone that only seemed to come out when Naruto or Gai were around. But I got Chunin exams in a week. I need all the training I can get. Naruto was started to get irritated. First Gai-sensei cancelled their training for the day. Asuma-sensei got called off to some Jonin meeting so he didn't have time today. Now Zabuza said they were done training for a week. Just rehearse all the basics. We all know you need all the extra practice you can get. You don't need me stranding over your frickin' shoulder. Zabuza growled at the blonde before him. Now if you don't mind, I got work to do. Zabuza turned and walked off. Sorry, Naruto-san. Haku bowed to his friend. I would like to train more too but I have been selected for a mission. You won't be competing in the exams then, Haku. Naruto felt a little sorry for the boy in front of him. There will be other opportunities for me to become a Chunin, Naruto. Just do your best to pass this year so we are not forced to compete against each other next time. Haku straightened up and extended his hand. Naruto shook it. You got it, Haku. They dropped their hands and Haku then hurried after Zabuza. Well, guess I better go fill that sheet out. I really hate paperwork too. Naruto sighed. He then turned and walked the other way. After a good 10 minutes of walking he emerged into his team's training ground. Naruto-kun, there you are. He was surprised to see none other than Hinata running up to him. She was panting hard and it took a lot of running to get that anymore. She must have been looking for him for a while now. Hinata, what's up? You look panicked. Everything all right? Naruto placed his hands on her shoulders. Naruto, my father. Did that bastard do something to you again? Naruto interrupted. I'll knock him on his ass if he did. He'll pay if. Hinata put her fingers up to Naruto's lips. My father wants you over for dinner tonight. She completed her sentence. She pulled her fingers away. Naruto didn't say anything though. Or more, he couldn't think of anything to say. Hinata was the only person who had successfully put him at a loss for words twice. Was the most intelligent remark he was capable of making. Just come with me, we're already going to be late if we don't hurry. Hinata grabbed Naruto's hand and started pulling him along. But, shouldn't I change? Naruto's brain was slowly starting to kick back on. Don't worry about it, I am in my shinobi attire as well. She looked back briefly to see a complete look of horror on her boyfriend's face. What? Why am I doing this? Naruto couldn't think of a nicer way to pose the question at the moment. The Chunin exams came up and he'd like to eat with us before we participate in them. Hinata continued to hold onto his hand as they ran through town. Oh, I see, what should I do, and say? Naruto felt the panic mounting. He'd never eaten at someone else's house and the Hyuga house didn't seem like a good one to start with. Just be yourself, Naruto-kun. It'll work out. They arrived in front of her house. Hinata, myself is not a good way to go with this, trust me. Naruto stared nervously at the house doors as they slid open. It'll be fine, Naruto-kun. You can do this. Hinata ran back, gave him a kiss on the cheek, and pulled him inside. Hinata quickly pulled him through the numerous twists and turns that made up the Hyuga house. Soon the two of them stood outside a sliding screen door where Hinata paused. Just follow my lead, it'll be alright. She whispered very quietly into his ear. Hinata. A voice called from the other end of the door. Would you and your guest care to enter? Hinata mentally flinched. Leave it to her father to have been watching with his Byakugan. As if Naruto hadn't been nervous enough already. He was practically trembling now. Yes, we'll be right in. Hinata gave Naruto one last glance before she slid the door open and walked inside. Seated at the head of the table was her father. Hanabi sat on the left side of the table close to him. On the right side of the table were two extra sets of silverware, where they would sit. Hinata bowed low and she watched Naruto do the same. Good evening, father. Good evening. Naruto's voice cracked and went up a couple of octaves at that moment. His face quickly took on a look of horror which then turned into red-faced embarrassment. Hinata heard Hanabi stifle a small giggle. Her father made no outward reaction. Good evening to you both as well. I am glad to see that you could both make it on such short notice. He gestured for them to take a seat. Hinata nodded and led Naruto over to the two cushions that were their seats. She sat down on the one closer to her father and he sat down on the one right next to her. As soon as they were seated, a server walked in carrying 4 bowls of soup. He set one down in front of each person present before quickly retreating out the door he had come. Naruto sighed in relief. He could handle soup. It looked a lot like ramen after all. It couldn't be so bad. Naruto went to grab his utensils when he realized he might be in trouble after all. Where's the chopsticks? He saw quite a few different spoons. A couple knives, and a fork. But no chopsticks. We are dining to a Western-style dinner tonight, so chopsticks will not be necessary. Hinata's father answered in between sips of his tea. Of course. Western food, my favorite. Naruto laughed nervously. Great, now he had to figure out which spoon to use. Hinata nudged him gently. When he turned to her she was gesturing to the spoon she was using. Naruto nodded his thanks and quickly grabbed his own. Naruto observed the others for a quick second. They all ate theirs with an eerie silence. A feat he only prayed he could accomplish. He rose his spoon to his lips and gave a quick slurp. The sounds probably went 3 rooms down, causing Naruto to freeze in his tracks and Hanabi to cover up another round of giggles. Hiyashi continued eating as if nothing had happened. Naruto then did the most sensible thing he could think of. He set his spoon down and waited for this portion of the meal to end. If this offended anyone they did not show it. Naruto figured they probably understood so he didn't say anything. Soon the soup was taken away. Next a tray of appetizers was set out between them. This time Hiyashi did not make a grab for anything. He instead took a long sip of his tea before he set it down and turned his attention to Naruto. I understand that you and my daughter are to be participating in the Chunin exams in the coming week. Yeah, that's right. That was not the thing Naruto had expected to hear. He had been waiting for some kind of formal insult, but instead it actually seemed like the guy was making light conversation. Those exams can be perilous. Naruto snapped out of his train of thought. Do you think your team is prepared to handle them? Could they handle them? Good question. With that Gaara kid there, they definitely had something to be nervous about. But he couldn't say that. He was going to become Hokage after all. One little redhead couldn't stop him. Of course we're ready. I just feel sorry for all the other guys that have to face us. Naruto gave him his biggest smile to prove he was serious. Hiyashi studied his face for a few moments. Then I can assume that you will make sure my daughter makes it out of them in one piece. The smile on Naruto's face quickly melted away into pure determination. If anyone hurts either of my teammates, I'll rip them apart myself. Now Hiyashi smiled lightly. That's more like it. He then turned his attention to the food in front of him. Everyone else did the same. After the meal was done, Hinata escorted Naruto out to the main gates. That wasn't so bad, was it? She said once they were both outside and the door shut. Naruto was surprised by how dark it had gotten. The only source of light was the near full moon that was up. Not so bad. I kept waiting for him to snap at me for messing up. It was driving me crazy being in there. Hinata giggled lightly at his antics. But you got through it. Now the Chunin exams should be a breeze for you. She giggled again, but Naruto didn't share in her laughter. Hinata noticed right away. Naruto-kun, you okay? I think you're asking the wrong question. Naruto sighed and leaned up against the wood wall. Are you okay with this? I don't understand, what do you mean? Hinata rarely see Naruto this way. I mean, are you okay with me? I mean, you're seriously like a princess when you're in there. Me, I'm just like some kind of lowly street kid. How can you? Idiot. Hinata smacked Naruto on the top of the head. OWW, Hinata. Naruto didn't have enough time to say anything else as Hinata wrapped her arms around him. It's always been you, Hinata said quietly. I've always wanted to be with you. I don't care about anything like status or heritage. All that matters is that I care about you. Naruto could do nothing but return the hug. You're right, Hinata. I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to some things here. I know. Hinata pulled back. We both are. She smiled lightly at him. Naruto was suddenly taken by how striking she looked when colored in the moonlight. He wondered how he could have missed something like that before. Without thinking he leaned in and kissed her quickly. And Naruto-kun. Even with the little light, her blush was quite visible. I'll see you tomorrow morning, Hinata. Naruto took off down the street. We gotta start training extra hard for these exams. He disappeared down the corner, leaving her alone in the street. Good night, Naruto-kun, Hinata whispered to no one before she turned and went inside as well. Chapter 14, Chunin Exams. Naruto, Lee, and Hinata stood in front of a massive building. There were multiple entrances on each side and the building itself easily stood 10 stories tall. Numerous shinobi from all kinds of villages were walking into the building at that very moment. I don't remember there being a building this big here in the village. Naruto stared in awe at the huge structure that stood before him. Me either, I wonder why they are having us meet in such a big building. Lee too, was admiring the height. Well, there are a lot of shinobi competing, it would appear. Hinata was more impressed with the amount of people she saw going into the building. I wonder what we will be tested on in here. No way we're going to figure it out just standing here. Let's go inside. Naruto marched forward, followed quickly by his two teammates. They entered the building and took a quick look around. To their surprise, they were in a small room with 3 sets of staircases. Going upwards. How curious. Lee mumbled and looked around. Apparently they weren't the only confused ones. Some groups stood there in an absolute stupor, looking at each stairwell intently. Waiting for something to happen. Not too much later and a group came walking down one of the flight of stairs. They did not look pleased. What the hell? We tried all 3 and not one of them got us to the top. What are they trying to do? One of them shouted as he punched a wall. It would appear the exam has already started. Lee mused while he rubbed his chin. So if we don't get to the top before the designated time, we get booted before we even start, huh? I like this already. Naruto gave a feral grin and turned to Hinata. Her Byakugan was already active and he could see the gears in her head spinning. The set of stairs the one group just came down from is the correct path. Hinata whispered just loud enough for her teammates to hear. Neither responded. Instead they walked towards it. All three were sure to keep a look of uncertainty on their faces as they went up so as not to alert the other groups to their find. Once they reached the next level, which was a long hallway that went two separate ways, Hinata reactivated her Byakugan. Left, she said and started moving. Don't bother saying it aloud, Hinata. We'll just follow you. She nodded to Lee's instructions. After making it up nearly 3 levels they stopped. We're being followed. Hinata whispered again. Naruto and Lee both nodded. They sensed it too. Naruto rose his hands up and formed his favorite seal. 3 clones popped into existence. 2 of them hanged themselves as his teammates. At the next turn the team went one way and they went the correct way. After nearly countless twists and turns, ups and downs, Hinata finally stopped walking. We're on the top floor, she announced. Nice going, Hinata. Naruto wrapped his arm around her shoulder and gave her a quick kiss on the cheek. Naruto, Hinata blushed just a little. She didn't move away from him though. I'm just sorry my clones weren't able to lose those guys that were following us. Naruto said a little louder than necessary. All 3 of them turned to see a very strange-looking team of shinobi walk up the stairs. 2 of them looked normal enough. The 3rd member looked like a mummy though. His hunched-over posture and one visible eye didn't help his appearance. I must admit, said the mummy ninja, that it was rather difficult deciphering which set of footsteps to follow. However, no small difference escapes the ears of us Oto shinobi. Otogakur. I have never heard of it. Lee said skeptically. Oh, you will soon. The other male responded. That's right, we're going to be famous once we conquer these Chunin exams. The girl finished. Now if you'll excuse us. The mummy spoke again. All 3 walked past Team Guy and proceeded into the doors where the exams truly began. Team Guy walked forward as well and stopped outside the doors the team in front of them just went through. No turning back once we go past these doors. Lee said. As if I'd turn back anyways. We're going all the way here. Naruto shouted. That's right. Hinata added. Music to my ears. The team whipped around to see their sensei standing there behind them. He held up his hand before any of them could say anything. Just listen, he said in a normal volume. These exams can be rigorous. However, I have trained you hard, and I am proud to say that you are more prepared than most for the tasks ahead. Now know this, it is not common for first-timers to pass. So no matter how far you get, I am proud you are my students. Naruto chuckled at his teacher. Come on, Guy-sensei. We knew all that already. We'll show the world what it means to be trained by the greatest taijutsu expert. Lee gave Guy the nice guy pose. We'll teach them what it means to be a genius of hard work. Hinata said quietly but vehemently. Guy felt the great urge to cry at that moment. You guys, good luck. Guy spun around and vanished before he had the chance to shed a tear in front of them. Alright, let's go. Naruto grabbed the doors and flung them open. All 3 of them stepped inside to the massive room. Unsurprisingly they walked into a big room with 16 separate doors, each one being the entrance from one path or another. What was surprising was the massive amount of genin who had managed to make it into the room still. Among them were a ton of people they even recognized. The group from Suna was there, and so was Kakashi's team. There were also the other rookies that Naruto and Hinata had gone to class with. Lee, Hinata. Tenten took notice of the new group and came running up to them. Begrudgingly, Neji and Sasuke followed after her. Tenten-senpai. Hinata smiled at her friend just as she made it up to them. I see you guys made it. Of course, it was probably no problem with the Byakugan. Neji's got us here in no time at all. Tenten talked in a hushed voice, trying not to glean the attention from other teams. That's right. Hinata is amazing. Naruto shouted loudly as he patted his girlfriend on the shoulder roughly. Everyone else in the group cringed at Naruto's voice as it instantly drew the attention of many other teams. Are you stupid? Sasuke asked as he glared at the blonde. You do remember that being a shinobi means keeping a low profile, right? Naruto snorted. That kind of stuff is overrated. It doesn't matter if they notice me or not. I'll beat them all down anyways. My, that's quite the proclamation. All 6 genin turned to the newest person to make his way over to their group. A tall, older-looking boy with white hair and glasses stood in front of them with one arm partially raised in greeting. Who's that guy? Naruto asked quietly as he leaned towards Lee. I've never seen him before either. He has a leaf headband on though. Lee peered curiously at the older-looking genin as well. I apologize, I forgot to introduce myself. The white-haired boy said, obviously having heard them. My name is Yakushi Kabuto. I am another participant of this exam. Do you have business with us? Sasuke asked suddenly, glaring at the older boy. Kabuto adjusted his glasses and gave a disarming smile. No, no. I simply thought it seemed more lively over here and decided to check it out. You're all first-timers in this exam, aren't you? All 6 genin shared a look before they all nodded back to Kabuto. Must be nice. I forget what it is like to be ignorant to what's coming next. Kabuto smiled sadly at them all. This is my 7th time taking the exam. 7th. Naruto, Lee, and Tenten all shouted at once. Kabuto rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. Yes, well, I just have very bad luck, you see. Kabuto mumbled to himself. Neji snorted. It sounds more like fate is against you. Kabuto gave a wry smile at his comment. Fate, maybe so. Regardless, it has allowed me to gain extensive knowledge on all the villages. I could show you my cards. Information on anyone and everyone you want to know about. He pulled out an impressive-sized stack of colorful cards as he talked. Anyone interested? Lee rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Why are you interested in helping us? What do you gain from it? Kabuto again gave his disarming smile. Perhaps future allies. There is no need to be suspicious. He said a moment later, taking note of the doubt in everyone's eyes. I showed a few other rookies some cards just a few moments ago. I simply want to help you. Well, there is one kid I'm interested in. Naruto suddenly spoke up. Lee and Hinata looked at him with slight worry in their eyes. They knew who he was going to ask about. Gaara. He's from Sunagaku. Gaara it is. Kabuto grabbed onto a card. Before he was able to reveal it, a white mist settled in over the floor of the room. Alright, runts. You better pay attention or I'll chop you in half. The first exam has officially begun. Naruto couldn't believe it. He definitely recognized that voice. He turned slowly and his worst fears were realized. What the hell? It's you. Naruto screamed and pointed at none other than Momochi Zabuza. Quiet down over there, you blonde-haired brat. Or do you want me to kick you out right now? Naruto lowered his finger and instead fumed quietly. What the hell is Zabuza doing? Is he really the one testing us? Lee patted him lightly on the back. Think of it as a point in our favor. We know the guy after all. Maybe he will go easy on us. Naruto looked at Lee like he grew a third eyebrow. You don't hang out with the guy much, do you? He's a sadist, he said through his teeth. Alright, here's how this exam is going to work. Zabuza broke up their conversation. The rules are very simple. You have 10 minutes to make it back to the bottom level and out of the building. You will descend with your teammates. If one of you gets lost and doesn't make it out, you all fail. You will of course notice a few differences on your way down. The first being, the whole area is now covered in a thick mist. There was a wave of grumbling amongst the assembled shinobi. Shut up. If you don't like it then don't participate. I'd be more than happy to fail some of you now. The grumbling immediately quit. Now, you will also have to be wary of traps we set up. Most of the traps are designed to maim, not kill. However, if you do somehow die, you fail. Now, select one member from each team to come draw a pair of numbers. There will be a red and a blue one. Red is the number door you will enter to begin your descent. Blue is the order in which you will go. You will begin exactly 10 minutes after the group in front of you goes. No exceptions. But what if the group in front of us sets up additional traps? Kankuro shouted out. That sucks for you. Part of this exam is luck. Zabuza let out a dark laugh. Now line up. When you get your number, show it to an assistant and tell him the names of you and your teammates. Well, I supposed I better get with my team. Kabuto smiled at the group. Perhaps I can show you the cards another time, he said while walking away. We're gonna split too. No need in hanging together, we're rivals now. Tenten gave the group one more wave before running after her teammates that had both left already. Naruto sighed. Well, here goes nothing. That is right. Lee patted his teammates again before he stood completely straight. Hinata, could you go draw our random number? He gave her a wink. Yes. Hinata walked up and placed herself into one of the lines. I gotta hand it to you, bushy brow. You're pretty smart about this stuff. They won't get mad at us for cheating though, right? Naruto suddenly felt nervous for Hinata's safety. Not if we do not get caught. If this is a true shinobi test, then our ability to get away with things like that is also part of the test. Naruto smiled and nodded a couple of times. So alls we need is to go first and we're set. Wrong, Lee said. Wah. Let me explain. Lee held up his hand to stop Naruto's question. Are you more afraid of a trap set up by already skilled Jonin or Chunin, or by Genin? Well, the Jonin of course. Naruto stated obviously. Exactly. The groups that go in front of us will undoubtedly set off those traps. Meanwhile, they themselves will be setting up their own. That means the later we go, the more troublesome traps will be taken care of and we will only have to deal with the poorly constructed traps instead. Lee summed up for his younger teammate. Man, you really got it all figured out. I hope Hinata knows that. Naruto looked back to his girlfriend who was still in line. I am sure she does. Lee answered. After what seemed like an hour of waiting, Hinata finally showed up with their numbers. I got us 3rd place in door number 1. That's the door we came through. 3 is the last place by the way. Lee gave her a thumbs up. Nice work, Hinata. That was the best outcome we could have hoped for. Not entirely. Hinata's hushed whisper caused them to lean slightly towards her in concern. What do you mean? What is wrong? Lee asked, his bushy brows furrowed. The Sunagaku team is the team to go right before us. There is no telling what they are capable of. Especially Gaara. Hinata was peering nervously at the Suna team the whole time she talked. We are just going to have to try. Right, Naruto. Lee nudged his best friend lightly, ripping him from whatever thoughts he was trapped in. Yeah, definitely. Naruto nodded his head vigorously, as if to convince himself. Alright, punks. The first teams line up in front of your doors. You got 1 minute. The teams began scurrying to get to their places. Soon all the motion stopped as the groups got into their respective lines. Zabuza watched it all with mild amusement. It felt really good to be giving orders again. He looked down to his watch. The doors will open in 3, 2, 1. 1 second later and all the doors swung instantaneously open. The groups in front ran through. The doors swung shut behind them. Everyone in the room shuffled forward slightly. The room was now deathly silent. No one was making a noise at all. Naruto fidgeted nervously. Gaara was only a few feet away from him and the whole time he was staring at him with a murderous gaze. Naruto didn't understand it. What was it about him that Gaara wanted to kill so bad? Was it cause he had a demon too? Zabuza's voice came out monotonously as he called out 5 minutes for the next team. Then 1 minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 second. The door would swung open and then the next team ran through. Naruto breathed out a sigh of relief as Gaara's murderous gaze was finally off of him. Zabuza's voice called out 5 minutes for the last team. Only 48 teams had made it to the top of the building and now only 16 of those teams had left to go. After calling off 30 seconds, Zabuza walked towards Guy's team. Listen you brats, he whispered quietly. As a proctor I can't show any favoritism here, but just know I'm pulling for you guys. After some of the shit you've been through I know you guys are ready for this. Without waiting to hear a response he took a couple of steps back. 3. The group looked to each other and nodded. 2. They all turned their attention to the door. 1. The whole room held its breath as the last groups prepared to enter. The doors swung open and with Hinata in the lead they charged in. They ran quickly to the edge of the steps when Hinata stopped short. What's wrong, Hinata? A trap. She shook her head. My Byakugan is useless here. This mist must be enhanced somehow. We'll have to proceed without the use of my eyes. The other two nodded. I still remember the route we took so that won't be a problem. We just won't see any of the traps until we're on top of them. Bring them on. Naruto shouted and formed the ram seal. 3 clones popped into existence. Charge forward guys. We don't have all day. The clones nodded and took off down the stairs. When you guys reach the bottom go right. Hinata shouted after them. Raj, 3 popping sounds were heard before they were able to finish speaking. Jump. It's a tripwire. Naruto shouted as he formed 3 more clones. They all jumped just in time and cleared the first obstacle. They then instantly turned right with the clones staying several steps ahead of them. Some kind of liquid. Naruto shouted as one of his clones slipped and fell over a pool of something. The whole group stopped slightly to observe what it was they had slipped on. Their eyes widened as they realized what it was. Blood. The dangerous reality of the exam was now starting to sink in. The bodies are nowhere in sight. The cleanup crew must move fast. Lee observed as they all cautiously stepped around to the pool of blood. Once past, Naruto created 3 more clones and they were off again. Down, left, forward, up, right, down. The 3 of them continued to sprint through the obstacles with ease as Hinata ordered the clones forward, who would then trip the traps. Before they could even reset, they would be past that trap and on their way to the next one. "This is cake. We've got this," Naruto shouted happily. His teammates both gave small smiles. It was their luck that their skills played out perfectly for this first exam. The biggest concern was, they had yet to come across a trap of any kind set by the Sand siblings. Suddenly, Naruto skid to a stop as he felt his clones pop. "What?" Lee asked excitedly. "What kind of trap was it?" Naruto slowly shook his head. It wasn't a trap, more like a figure lunged out of the mist at them. A person. Naruto pushed both his teammates into the wall and then dropped down just as the figure flew over his head. "Did someone stay behind?" Hinata shouted as she began to move forward. She was forced to roll out of the way as a group of kunai flew at her. They thunked loudly against the wooden walls. "Impossible. It must be one of the examiners," Lee shouted as he jumped in the air and delivered a spinning kick. The figure blocked his kick with its arm and pushed Lee back, smashing him against the wall. "These close quarters are not helping us. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," Naruto shouted as 3 clones appeared and tackled the figure to the ground. The 3 clones wrestled around with it for a few moments before it finally lay motionless on the ground. "Who are you?" Naruto shouted as he bent down to examine it. He gasped in surprise when he got close enough. "What do you see, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked as she also began to lean closer. It's a puppet," Naruto mumbled, confusion evident in his voice. The sound of something wooden dropping on the floor reached their ears a second later. They all looked down to see a small wooden ball had dropped from the puppet's mouth. On the ball was one simple word. "Explode." "Oh crap," Naruto shouted as he jumped backwards. He wasn't fast enough as the explosion went off and the flames engulfed the entire floor. Fortunately for him and Hinata, Lee was fast enough. He had abandoned his weights and literally dragged them down the nearest flight of steps. "Nice one." Bushy brow. Naruto was still gasping for breath. He was shocked they had survived that at all. Zabuza-san said their traps aren't meant to kill. If I had to guess, I would say the Suna team is responsible for that. Hinata stumbled up to her feet and took a couple steps forward before shaking her head. "This is the wrong way. Sorry, I took us to the closest escape I could." Lee began to make his way back up the stairs, followed by both his teammates. The sound of something massive sifting behind them caught all their attention. "Oh, what now?" Naruto groaned as he turned and squinted into the thick mist. They didn't have to wait long. A moment later and a giant wave of sand that took up the whole hallway came crashing into view. "Run!" Hinata shouted unnecessarily. All 3 of them had already taken off. Hinata and Naruto had dropped their weights in the process. "Hinata, lead the way," Lee shouted as he slowed down just a fraction so she was in front. "What about the traps?" she shouted, not bothering to stop as she slid around a corner and kept on sprinting, both teammates hot on her tail. "Screw the traps." Naruto was looking behind them. The sand was gaining on them. "We'll just have to be faster than the traps. That sand is gonna kill us." They all began descending another set of stairs. "This is the 3rd floor. We are almost done," Hinata shouted as she rounded yet another corner and continued to run. The sand was still roaring loudly behind them. "At the end of this hall is another set of stairs," she shouted before just a moment later she ran smack into a wall. She bounced backwards and fell onto her butt. Naruto and Lee did the same thing a moment later. "What the hell? Where are the stairs?" Naruto's voice came out nasally. He had a feeling he had just shattered his nose. "That's not possible. I know we took the right way." Hinata didn't understand what was happening. Could the route have changed? But it was the same all the way up until now. "The sand," Lee shouted as he turned around. It was just a second away from smashing into them. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto created so many clones that they instantly got jammed together in the hallway and successfully made a barrier between them and the sand just in time. It smashed into his clones and wasn't able to continue any further. "Good thinking, Naruto." Lee let out a breath of relief. My clones won't last long before the sand crushes them. We need to get out of here. Naruto stumbled back up to his feet. No, this isn't right. Hinata suddenly shouted as she smashed her hand against the wall. There isn't an exit here at all. Wait, so you're saying we're in a dead end? Naruto asked, exasperated as he began feeling around at the walls. There wasn't an exit on any of the 3 remaining sides. Hinata crumpled to her knees. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. She whispered. She had been so sure she had been leading them the right way. Hinata. Naruto took a step towards her to comfort her, and as he did he noticed the sand was beginning to leak through. Hey, do you guys hear that? Lee said quietly. Both Naruto and Hinata quit moving. Yeah, it sounds like gears are turning beneath us. All 3 of them went to move just a second too late. The floor opened and they all fell down into the mist. OWW, my head. Naruto slowly stood up. You guys okay? Naruto looked around. He didn't hear anything. Guys. Bushy brow. Hinata. Naruto felt around to see if they were still unconscious. Stay away from him. Naruto jerked back suddenly. Who said that? It sounded familiar, but it wasn't one of his teammates. Was someone else here? Don't get near my child. You demon. Why are you even alive? Just die. Give back my son. The voices started coming from everywhere. Some were just little whispers, but others were practically shouts. Naruto realized all too well where they came from now. His past. Is that the kid? Yeah, he's the only one who didn't pass. Can you picture what would happen if they let that demon become a ninja? Naruto grit his teeth. Shut up and say it to my face. Naruto, you killed Iruka's parents. You're the Kyuubi no Yoko. That's not true. Naruto whirled around in the mist. No one was there. Run away. It's him. Get out of my store, you little thief. Stop it. He roared while covering his ears. Just leave me alone. The sound of a window shattering could be heard. That's what you get. Just leave already. Naruto hunched himself onto the ground. Please, just stop. I don't want to hear this. You have no friends. No one wants you. You don't know what you're talking about. Naruto took his hands off his ears and stood back up. I do have friends. I have people who care for me. People who love me. Everyone thinks you should die. What do you know? Naruto whispered to himself. You're a monster. My life may have been crap at one point, but it's different now. Naruto's eyes steeled as he faced the onslaught of voices. You are worthless. The voices were getting quieter. I have Guy-sensei who told me that he values my struggle to keep fighting. No one would care if you disappeared. Bushy Brow cried for me when he thought I was dying. You're all alone. Haku has shared a pain similar to mine. He understands me. No one loves you. They were barely louder than a whisper now. Hinata does. And I'm glad I found out. I couldn't ask for a better girlfriend. The voices stopped altogether. The room started shifting again and Naruto started feeling incredibly lightheaded. He slipped down to the floor and everything went white for a second. Naruto. Naruto-kun. Naruto slowly opened his eyes. He was still in the mist. But Lee and Hinata were here now. What happened? The sand. He shot up to a sitting position. When we fell we got caught in a genjutsu. The sand did not follow us down. Lee explained. He and Hinata each grabbed one of Naruto's arms. A genjutsu, eh? Naruto let them each pull him up. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? The boy in question smiled at his girlfriend. Yeah, I'm just thinking about how I have such great friends. Hinata blushed lightly and smiled back. Hate to break this up, but we are on a time crunch here. Lee waved his hand to get their attention. Hinata, do you know how to get out of here? Hinata's smile dropped as she turned to Lee. There are 2 doors on either side of this room. What? But which one is the right one? Naruto looked back and forth. The mist down here wasn't nearly as thick and he could make out the doors on either end. Hinata shook her head. I don't know. That fall completely threw off my sense of direction. Well, what happens if we pick the wrong door? Naruto could just hear the clock ticking in his head. We probably fail and we might even die. Lee rubbed his chin as he also gazed between the 2 doors. That's bull. There's no logic to this last trick. It's just chance. Naruto shouted. Zabuza did say luck was part of being a shinobi. Maybe this is what he really meant. Lee turned his attention back to Hinata. You've gotten us this far. Whatever door you choose, I'll follow behind you without hesitation. Me. Hinata stuttered for the first time in a long time. Bushy brow is right. It's all up to you, Hinata. Naruto also turned to her. But, Hinata looked back between her teammates and the doors. Finally, a look of calm began to settle over her. Alright, then I say we do this one. Hinata turned to her left and walked right for the door. Naruto and Lee followed her without question. She grabbed onto the handle and looked at her teammates. When they gave her the nod, she swung the door open. Bright, light white poured into the room, destroying the mist and temporarily blinding the group. With their arms held in front of their eyes they walked forward. And out into the street. Just in front of them they saw a small group of shinobi gathered in front of a podium. Did we make it? Naruto asked as they started to approach a crowd of other shinobi who had passed. 10 seconds left until the last group's time has expired. A voice shouted as if to answer Naruto's question. Group 1, over here. They turned to see a Chunin waving them over. They did as he asked. Congratulations on passing the first exam. Is it Rock Lee, Hyuga Hinata, and Uzumaki Naruto? He peered at the three. That's us, Lee said proudly as he grabbed onto his teammates' shoulders. Alright, well you guys can go over there as you wait for the second exam to start. He gestured to the group of other shinobi who had passed. Alright, yeah, we passed. Naruto jumped for joy and started running towards the group. Hey, Naruto, over here, Choji shouted while waving his arms. Naruto made a straight beeline for Team 10. Lee and Hinata of course followed him. Hey, you guys passed too. Naruto shouted as he ran up to the group. What's that supposed to mean? Ino huffed. Of course we passed. All that extra workout your sensei has been giving Shikamaru hasn't been for nothing. We really would have been in trouble if he was in the shape he used to be in. Troublesome, was the lazy boy's only response. Okay, maggots. Time is up. Zabuza once again stood in front of all the assembled participants. You have all passed and will be moving on to the second part of the exam. Now before that, let me explain to you what this was really testing. You mean luck wasn't all of it? Came a sarcastic voice that sounded an awful lot like Kiba's. I can still fail your ass if I want, so watch it. Zabuza retorted quickly. Luck was a part of it. But it was also testing decisiveness, ability to use your senses, other than sight, and to see how well you deal with traps. It was also to test your self-esteem. Do you believe in yourself enough to push forward? Because if you don't believe in yourself, how can others believe in you? That explains the genjutsu, Lee mumbled. Naruto could only nod in agreement. Lee and Hinata must have heard some pretty nasty things too. They all had gone through so much to prove themselves. Soon they would show the world their results. Now I shall begin explaining the second exam. Isn't that my job, Zabuza-san? The man in question turned an annoyed eye to his left as an ice mirror formed. Everyone stared in amazement as a boy stepped outside of it. Alright, seriously, what the hell? Naruto roared. He's still a genin for crying out loud. Chapter 15. The Forest of Death Part 1. This behind me is the training ground 44. Better known as the Forest of Death. Haku gestured to the massive gates behind him. It is in here that you will have to take the next part of your exam. Any questions? Yeah, I got one. Haku let out a tired sigh. What is your question, Naruto-san? The blonde lowered the hand he had raised as Haku acknowledged him. I'm not quite sure I understand how the whole forest behind that gate is covered in snow. What Naruto said happened to be the very question on most of the genin's minds. The Forest of Death was indeed covered in a deep layer of snow. Yet it was a warm summer day on their side of the fence. Haku let out another sigh. Are the means important? Instead of asking, how, you should be asking, why. This exam will test multiple things. The first being how you deal with different conditions. It is a possibility that as a Chunin you will be sent to a land with a very different climate than yours. Normally we would be made aware of where we are going and of the conditions. We don't have the gear necessary for this. Sakura shouted from amongst the crowd. I was getting to that. Sakura slunk back in embarrassment. You will not enter the forest until midnight tonight. That means that you all are expected to go out and buy the necessary equipment before then. Prepare enough for 5 days. That's how long you'll be in there. So what's the objective? Survive. A random aim genin shouted. Haku rubbed his temple in annoyance. Must you all insist on interrupting me? His question was met with silence. Each team will receive one of 2 scrolls. Heaven and Earth. Your objective is to obtain them both and make it to a tower in the center of the forest. This is a competition against all your fellow peers. Wait a second. That means at best only half of us will pass. Kiba shouted from his spot next to Sakura. That's right. Of the 48 teams that started the first exam, only a meager 15 made it to this one. However, there are plenty of ways to fail here as well. If anyone in your team dies, if you open either one of your scrolls before reaching the tower, or if you don't make it within 5 days, you are out. Also bear in mind that some teams may try to collect multiple copies of scrolls. Haku was finally met with silence as the crowd let his words sink in. Show up back here at 11. You will be assigned your scrolls then. Anyone late will be disqualified. Dismissed. A mirror of ice formed behind Haku as he finished talking. As soon as he stepped inside, it shattered. He was nowhere to be seen. Well, I guess we better go and buy some snow clothes. We should hurry so we can beat the rush, Naruto said, already walking in the direction of the village. Yosh. Perhaps they will have white spandex so that I can blend in with the snow. Everyone within earshot visibly shivered at the image. I knew there was a reason I didn't want to proctor for those exams. Zabuza said as he and Haku climbed the stairs to their apartment. Dusk was just setting in and they were just finally making it home. However, Haku had to head back to the forest in just a couple hours. Oh, and what was that? Haku asked as he opened the door. All right assholes. Start talking. Naruto stood right in the doorway, as if he'd been waiting for them the whole time. Zabuza gave Haku a meaningful look. I rest my case. He then walked straight past the fuming blonde and strolled over to his side of the apartment. Hey, I'm talking to you. Naruto shouted after him. Hokage-sama just thought it would be a good way for us to get more involved in the village. Haku explained as he too walked past his friend. You make even less sense than him. At least he's a jonin. Naruto said as he started to follow them. Haku sighed and turned around to face him. What he saw caused his face to light up in shock. Naruto-san, get down. He jumped forward and tackled his friend down just as sand pellets flew over where his head had just been. What the hell? Naruto attempted to look at who just attacked him. Because of the way he was on the ground, the vision was upside down. However, Naruto didn't have to switch it right to recognize that face. Gaara, he breathed out. Take this. Zabuza roared as he ran into the room and swung his sword down onto where Gaara stood. To everyone's surprise, sand popped from his gourd and instantly deflected his sword, which chopped right through the floorboards. Do not interfere, Gaara said in monotone. My target is him. Zabuza looked back at Naruto and then at the little redhead before him. Look, I know he's annoying, but wait until tomorrow. You'll get a shot at him then. I want to kill him now. Gaara spoke almost hungrily now. There was a deep intensity in his eyes that frightened even Zabuza a little. If you kill anyone here, you'll be disqualified from the exams. Go home. Zabuza pulled his sword from the ground and hefted it gingerly onto his shoulders. Gaara seemed to ponder the big man's words for a minute. I will wait until tomorrow then. He turned around and began to walk out. Wait, Gaara, Naruto shouted as he quickly stumbled to his feet. The redhead stopped moving but didn't turn around. Naruto took that as a good ahead. Why do we have to kill each other? You said it yourself, we're the same. Doesn't that mean we understand each other? We should be on the same side if anything. We could probably be friends. Gaara stood there in silence. A full minute passed and Naruto was starting to wonder if we was even awake. I have no need for friends. Gaara finally spoke. The only one I need is myself. By killing you, who is like me, I will become more complete. I will become a greater existence than even now. Gaara then proceeded to walk out. Naruto could think of nothing to say to stop him. What a screwed up kid. Zabuza said as he began walking towards his room. And where do you think you're going? Did you see what you did to my floor? Naruto shouted. Zabuza turned back to him. The blonde was still trembling quite a bit, and even though he was still capable of yelling, his heart wasn't really in it. Take a nap, brat. You're in for a long week. Day 1. I still can't believe you actually found some. Unfortunately for everyone that night, Lee did manage to find white spandex. His leg warmers and belt were now a bright gray to match with it as well. Yosh. The shop knows exactly how to kindle my burning flames of youth. Nothing will be capable of stopping us now. Despite it, Naruto couldn't help but smile at his best friend's attitude. Personally, he wanted to get the spandex too, but Hinata wasn't budging. He couldn't understand. She could have worn a set too. Instead he settled for an outfit camouflaged completely by being white with other gray spots. Hinata herself had fallen back to her old milky-colored hoodie and matching colored pants. All three had similar gloves and snowcaps on as well. Are the two of you sure you want me to hold onto the heaven scroll? Hinata asked her teammates the same question she had been asking for the past 5 minutes. Of course. It is thanks to you we even got this far. Naruto smiled brightly at her and patted her head lightly. You three are strangely relaxed. Although I guess I'm not surprised, it's just like you. All three turned to Haku as he walked up to them. What's up, Mr. Proctor? Naruto smiled brightly at his friend. I'm just here to make sure you guys start on time. Haku looked behind them at the door that would let them inside. It must have taken a lot of chakra to be able to create this. Hinata observed aloud. I was not aware your Kekai Genkai also allowed you to create snow. To be honest, I wasn't either until shortly after I arrived in this village. As for the chakra, I had many other shinobi lending me their chakra through a special seal system. We have similar seals set up all along the gate to keep the forest this way. Naruto let out a low whistle. I thought this was a little out of place here. So much for having any kind of home field advantage. Naruto-san. Yeah, what's up? Naruto turned to see Haku giving him a look that meant he just said something dumb. You're aware that snow is made up of water, right? You have a huge advantage here. Haku gestured to the inside. Naruto turned his attention back to the forest, his eyes shining like he just received an early Christmas present. No way. That kicks so much ass. Haku dropped his face into his hands. Just then a watch on his hand started beeping. Everyone turned their attention to it. You have 10 seconds. Right, thank you, Haku-kun. Be sure to watch us youthfully pass this exam. The gates swung open just as Lee finished talking. All three of them wasted no time in running in. I'll see it better than you think. Haku called after them as the gates swung back closed. What do you think he meant by that? Naruto yelled as he and his teammates leapt up into the trees. There are probably cameras hidden throughout the whole forest or something, was Lee's response as he landed on his first branch. I don't think that's it. I can't see any. Knowing Haku-san though, he has a way. Hinata's Byakugan was active and already scanning the trees. What's our plan? Let's go deeper into the forest for now. If we're lucky we'll run into someone right away. I doubt anything will happen so early though. All three continued on their way deeper into the forest. Man, how boring. We've been in here for a couple hours already and not a single person has come after us. Tenten landed nimbly on the ground floor next to her two teammates. Are you guys sure you haven't seen anyone? What good are those eyes if you can't find at least a single ninja? You are so noisy. My eyes aren't any good at detecting people. When they're within Neji's range we'll know it. Until then just be quiet. Talking will only give us away. Sasuke continued pacing back and forth. Neji sat cross-legged in the snow. He hadn't moved since they had picked that spot to stay. Well, maybe I want to give us away. I mean seriously. I want to get out of this cold as fast as possible. Sasuke stopped pacing to glare at his only female teammate. Quit being such a child. You're a year older than me for crying out loud. What the hell is that? Both arguing teammates stopped and turned their attention to Neji who was quickly getting to his feet. What is it, Neji? What do you see? Tenten spun around to see if she could spot it. She then paused as she felt something. Was the ground shaking? I've never seen a creature that big before. We have to move. Now. Neji jumped skywards. Wait a second, Neji. What do you see? Sasuke looked up to where his teammate had jumped. Snake. Tenten screamed. Wah! Sasuke got no farther as Tenten grabbed him by the collar and jumped upwards. They both narrowly dodged out of the way as a humongous snake bowled over the spot they were just at. Without pausing, the snake quickly began to coil itself around the tree in pursuit of its targets. What the hell? Does that thing live in this forest? Sasuke asked as Tenten set him down onto a branch. Not likely, she answered. Do you see the way it's moving? It's specifically targeting us. Someone is commanding it. Who's capable of doing something like that? Sasuke looked back and forth between his two older teammates. Not someone of the genin level. Neji replied stoically. We need to kill it fast before its owner shows up. Whoever sent it after us isn't within range of my vision yet. Right. One of you distract it, I got just the tool. Tenten pulled out one of her scrolls. Here it comes. Sasuke called. He jumped down from the branch. Neji and Tenten both jumped skywards. The snake looked up and down as it decided which group to go after. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu. The snake's mind was quickly made up as several fireballs slammed into it from below. Tenten, hurry it up. Sasuke screamed as the snake descended quickly after him. I know already. Tenten ran down the tree as quickly as she could. Take this. She jumped from the tree and swung her unraveled scroll. A spiked ball flew from it and slammed into the snake's head. Sasuke dove out of the way as the snake veered out of control and slammed into the ground. Moving quickly, he joined Tenten on the side of the tree. And what was that supposed to do exactly? And you call me impatient? Just as she spoke those words, the ball detonated. The snake was quickly engulfed in a massive explosion as pieces of it flew all over. The snow in the area was quickly dyed red with its blood. Alright, now let's get out of here fast. A dark chuckle suddenly caused both of them to spin around. I'm afraid that leaving will not be an option for the two of you, said a female ninja with a Kusa headband. You see, I'm not sure I like what you just did to my cute little pet. Sasuke sneered. Don't act like you're the innocent one here. You sent it after us. Now, Sasuke-kun. Is that any way to talk to someone? Tenten and Sasuke's eyes widened. How do you know my name? Oh, you could call it a hobby of mine. Now if you'll excuse me for a moment. I have a pest problem to deal with. Without missing a beat, the kunoichi spun her upper body around and caught Neji's outstretched arm. How rude of you, trying to interrupt our conversation. Can it? Tenten appeared behind her opponent now, a wakizashi poised to cut her head off. The legs of the kunoichi, still facing Tenten, sprung into action, landing a powerful kick into her stomach and sending her flying downwards. As soon as the kick connected, Neji released his foothold on the tree and launched his own kick. The Kusa ninja easily stepped out of the way and in one fluid motion spun her top back on straight and hurled him down towards Tenten. Your turn. She charged Sasuke, who immediately dove sideways to the nearest tree. The second he hit it, he jumped upwards, grabbed the branch he was beneath and spun himself to the top. Without pausing to see if she had followed, he ran through a set of hand seals. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. He fired a giant ball of fire straight forward just as she flipped up onto the branch. With a shrill shriek, she was set ablaze and fell backwards off the tree. He then ducked low as a fist flew over where his head should have been. Spinning around, he brought his foot in for a low kick. The kunoichi shouldn't have been able to stop it, however her arm bent at an odd angle and grabbed his foot easily. Excellent. Most excellent, Sasuke-kun. Seeing through my mud clone must have been child's play for you even without your Sharingan active. Her free hand slammed into Sasuke's stomach. However, you'll find you may need it to keep up with me. Sasuke let out a dry smirk as the kunoichi's hand sank into his body. What? The answer came a second later as Sasuke dissolved into mud, revealing an explosive tag strapped onto his body. Another second later and it exploded. The real Sasuke stepped around the side of the tree, his Sharingan active. You may find that you're no match for me when I use it. That's what I like to see. Sasuke instinctively took a step back, for less than an inch from his face was his enemy. What the when did you? The kunoichi chuckled in response. This is no time to be surprised, Sasuke-kun. You've shown me what you can do with ninjutsu, now I want to see your taijutsu. She rose up her hand and beckoned him forward. Before Sasuke could even move, a set of kunai flew into the tree around the kunoichi. They all exploded. You're hurting our feelings, ignoring us like that. Tenten yelled from a nearby tree. Sasuke watched as the Kusa ninja seemingly rose out of the ground behind his teammate. Tenten, behind you. Too late, the ninja struck. However, to Sasuke's surprise, Tenten fluidly ducked, grabbed the enemy's arm, and stuck back, with an open palm. The kunoichi bent over slightly and coughed up blood. Ah, I see. I was careless. She wiped some of the blood off her lower lip. You two have been working together for a long time now, that swap was perfect. Tenten popped into a cloud of smoke and Neji stood in her place. Without wasting another second, he pulled his palm back and swung his other one forward. The kunoichi knocked this blow aside and sent a spinning kick aimed to Neji's head, who intercepted the blow with his forearm. Knocking her leg back, Neji pressed on the attack. Sasuke scanned the scene for another second before smirking. I see, you threw the kunai and then immediately hid. Neji stood there hanged. As you said, the enemy thought he was you. You guys take all the fun out of the surprises. Tenten said as she landed next to him. You going to be okay? Yeah, but shouldn't we help Neji out now? Tenten shook her head. If it's taijutsu, we'll only get in his way. You and I are going to act as ranged support in case the enemy tries to put distance between herself and Neji. Sasuke could only nod to the plan as he watched the fight unfold. You are most skilled. The kunoichi chuckled as she dodged and weaved her way around another set of palm strikes. It's been a long time since I've seen a genin with as much raw talent as you. Perhaps I should come after you instead of Sasuke-kun. Neji halted for a split second before he continued on with his assault, not something missed by his opponent. Oh, you must be wondering why I'm after Sasuke-kun to begin with, aren't you? She jumped up over Neji's sweeping kick. Well, how about I tell you? You see, I'm interested in his eyes. Without warning, the kunoichi suddenly struck, landing a powerful punch into Neji's chest and knocking him back several feet. Your Byakugan pales in comparison to such strong eyes. Neji stumbled slightly and nearly lost his balance. He then managed a low chuckle. You are a fool. Oh, it speaks, she taunted. Neji ignored her and kept talking. You want the Sharingan? Well then you're out of luck. Even if you can acquire them, they will never reach their full caliber. No, your fate was sealed the moment you were conceived as something other than a Uchiha. The kunoichi said nothing, but Neji could feel her glare burning into him. And there's one more thing, he said while crouching low and spreading his hands out. And what would that be? All good humor had left the kunoichi's voice. You're within range of my divination. Neji sprung forward and struck before the kunoichi even had a chance to move. 2 strikes. She stumbled back. 4 strikes. Neji pressed forward. 8 strikes. The pace of his attack sped up. 16 strikes. The kunoichi could do nothing as Neji assaulted her chakra points. 32 strikes. His hands became little more than a blur as he struck time and time again. 64 strikes. He delivered the final blow, and without the ability to produce chakra, the kunoichi lost her footing on the trunk of the tree and fell forward. She crashed painfully on a branch some 30 feet below. Neji jumped down and landed next to his opponent. You will never acquire the Sharingan eyes. Instead you'll die right here. This is your fate. The kunoichi surprised Neji by letting out a small chuckle that was different from the ones before. This one sounded like it belonged to a man. What a cruel technique. I actually lost all control of the chakra in this woman's body. Oh well, I guess this just means it is time to shed my skin. The body gave a slight jerk. Then another. Soon the whole body was convulsing wildly. Neji stepped back in alarm as he watched something begin to slide out of the mouth of the woman he'd just put down. What the hell are you? How rude, responded the man's voice again. Didn't they teach you manners at the academy? You should be asking me my name. A sickly pale-looking man rose up from the body of the woman. However, as a reward for doing so well, I'll tell you it anyway. The man opened his mouth and his tongue pulled out a sword. He caught it with his hand, and before Neji could even react, he struck. I am Orochimaru. The snake Sannin, the pale man said as Neji fell forward, his blood quickly spilling all over the branch they were on. Do not worry. I left that cut light enough for you to be able to survive. I need your team to pass after all. Besides, now you can watch me have my fun with Sasuke-kun and the girl. Just think of it as your fate. With that said, the Sannin vanished from his spot. Neji! Tenten screamed. Before she made even a slight step, Orochimaru appeared in front of her, his sword still drawn. You bastard! Tenten pulled out the wakizashi she had used earlier and struck. Orochimaru easily blocked the strike. He then flicked it away and spun around. Before Tenten could make another move, the hilt of the sword slammed into the back of her head. She stumbled forward slightly, and then fell off the branch they were on completely. Tenten. Sasuke moved to jump after her, but a powerful kick slammed him against the trunk of a tree. Fear not, Sasuke-kun. She will only fall for a little ways. She'll probably break a couple bones when she hits the branch beneath her, but she'll live. Orochimaru spoke as he casually approached his prey. Why are you doing this? You're not a genin. What do you gain from taking this exam? Sasuke leaned up against the trunk of the tree. The kick had really knocked the wind out of him. You're right. I'm not a genin. But believe me, I get something out of this. Orochimaru smiled evilly, revealing his snake-like fangs. Now come here, Sasuke-kun. Just one little bite and this'll all be over. I'm afraid I cannot let you do that. Orochimaru spun around quickly and brought his sword up just in time. A katana met his sword with a loud clang. Oh, why if it isn't the genin proctor? What are you doing here interfering with the exams? This isn't a show of favoritism, is it? He grinned innocently at Haku as they both retracted their swords and stepped back several feet. Drop the act. I've heard everything that you've said, Orochimaru. The Sanin's smile instantly dropped from his face. That's interesting. I didn't notice any cameras in here. Perhaps Konoha found a new way to monitor people. Orochimaru's eyes widened as Haku seemingly disappeared into thin air. He brought his sword up and blocked another katana strike from his right. He then knocked Haku back and took a swing at him. Haku rolled out of the way. He then ran towards Sasuke. Sasuke-san, grab onto me and hold on tight. Haku snatched a hold of Sasuke's collar and dove at the tree. What are you doing? Sasuke knocked himself loose before they crashed straight into the solid trunk. To his surprise, Haku seemed to vanish through it. What the hell? I see it now. Orochimaru looked around the forest suspiciously. This whole forest is littered in those ice mirrors you used to get around. Correct. Haku shouted from above his opponent. He swung his sword down and Orochimaru easily blocked it again. The second you all entered this forest, you entered my jutsu. When in the mirrors I can see and hear everything that is going on. Orochimaru knocked his sword back and struck, only for Haku to vanish again. This time though Orochimaru struck down into the mirror Haku had gone through, shattering it. That is an impressive sword if it is capable of breaking one of my mirrors. Orochimaru turned around to see Haku standing next to Sasuke again. I must apologize, but I will be moving Sasuke-san out of the area as I have already done with his teammates. Don't think I'll let you. Orochimaru ran quickly trough a set of seals. Kaden. Genkyu no Jutsu. He inhaled a small orb of fire. A flame so small will do little against my technique. Haku rose his hand and water rushed to meet the orb. You idiot, we got to move. Sasuke tackled Haku off the branch and out of the way of the technique. What are you doing? Haku yelled as they plummeted. You don't understand. That technique. Sasuke was interrupted as a loud bang was heard. They both looked upwards to see what was once the little orb, expanding massively. I see, it explodes. Haku observed nonchalantly. Hang on tight, Sasuke-san, this is going to get nasty. Haku ran through several one-handed seals. What the hell is that? Naruto said as he felt a massive heat wave wash over them. I don't know, but it sounds like a massive explosion just went off. Lee answered. They were all looking in the direction that the explosion had just come from. Should we check it out? Hinata looked to Lee, who shook his head. Should we flip a coin for it? Lee asked as he pulled one out. Hinata dropped her head in shame, but Naruto's face lit up. Heads means we go for it. The blonde shouted excitedly. Right. Lee flicked the coin and it went flying before vanishing into the brush. The three of them sat in complete silence for a full half a minute before it came back down and Lee caught it expertly. And the coin says. He placed it on the back side of his hand and all three of them looked at the outcome. What a powerful technique. Haku stumbled upwards and looked around. They now stood in a huge crater. All around them, whole trees had been disintegrated. He was covered in many nasty burns himself. How can you be so nonchalant about this? Sasuke slowly rose to his feet. Haku looked him up and down. He was badly burnt too in many places. All of his winter clothing had been completely seared off and his body was littered with numerous blisters. I can be nonchalant because we survived. Haku began inspecting his sword. It didn't look like it had been hurt at all. How did we survive? I mean, what did you do? Sasuke asked curiously. It was most impressive. Both genin whirled around. Orochimaru stood there smiling evilly. He formed an orb around you which quickly solidified to ice. Normally that would have just melted, but he kept a constant stream of water flowing into it. The only time you got burnt was at the very end, when what was left of the water evaporated. What a handy Kekkei Genkai. Konoha sure has found an interesting new specimen. Haku held his katana up and stood directly in between Sasuke and the evil Sannin. Oh, and what do you plan to do here? You have no ice mirrors around, and the air here is still quite dry. I doubt you could make any more even if you wanted. Just hand Sasuke over to me like a good little proctor. I will not. You are making a grave error if you think Gekkei Kenkais are the only way someone is capable of fighting. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu. Sasuke fired off a series of fireballs. He then grabbed Haku's arm and started pulling him away from Orochimaru. What are you doing? Haku asked. Just then he heard a group of explosions. I hid kunai with exploding tags and the fireballs. We need to make a break for your mirrors. It's our only chance. Orochimaru appeared in front of them before he even finished talking. Not so fast there, Sasuke-kun. Your eyes will be mine. Orochimaru stepped forward. Get away. Sasuke jumped in the air and delivered a powerful kick to the Sannin's face. He disappeared in a poof of smoke. Damn, a shadow clone. Haku spun around and knocked Orochimaru's sword strike away. A sneak attack. As expected by one like yourself. You shouldn't talk, brat. Orochimaru swung his sword forward as did Haku. Several clangs erupted. A sound of chirping birds suddenly filled the air. Impossible, that technique is. Orochimaru spun to see Sasuke charging him with a blade of electricity in his hand. Haku took advantage of the Sannin's momentary surprise and knocked his sword out of the way. Chidori. Sasuke roared as he plunged his hand through the Sannin's chest. All time seemed to freeze as the three stood there. The only noise was Sasuke's Chidori as it started to fade. Finally, Sasuke broke the silence. Damn you, you managed to deflect my strikes. It only hit your upper shoulder. Orochimaru let out a dark laugh. That's right. Truthfully, I could have dodged it altogether, but now I have you right where I want you. He quickly grabbed onto Sasuke's arms with an iron grip. What? Let me go, damn it. Sasuke pulled and struggled, but he couldn't get free. It'll be over in just a second. Orochimaru opened his mouth wide. Don't think I'll let you. Haku swung his sword right into Orochimaru's open mouth. The Sannin bit down hard and shattered the sword. His neck then grew incredibly long and he head-butted Haku right in the nose. The boy could do nothing as he fell to the ground in pain. Orochimaru's neck retracted and he opened his mouth wide. Now, Sasuke-kun, you're mine. Just before he was able to bite down, the sound of footsteps fast approaching caused the Sannin's eyes to go wide. Sasuke felt the palm of someone touching his back and a surge of energy shot through him as a Juken strike harmlessly bypassed his organs. The snake Sannin wasn't so fortunate as the brutal attack smashed into his innards. His open mouth sprayed blood that rained down on Sasuke's neck and shoulder. Double leaf whirlwind. Before Sasuke was able to figure out what happened, Naruto and Lee both appeared as they delivered a powerful spinning kick, Naruto from the front and Lee in the back. Their feet collided at Orochimaru's neck, popping it clean off and sending it flying into the air while spraying blood everywhere. Sasuke easily pulled away from the headless corpse. You guys, he whispered in surprise. He then spun around and was shocked to see it was Hinata that had performed such an advanced Juken strike and not Neji. What's up, Sasuke-chan? Naruto laughed as he extended his hand to help Sasuke to his feet. Naruto. It is not over. Lee shouted suddenly. Naruto spun into his surprise. A dozen tiny snakes had shot out from Orochimaru's neck and head and had attached together. They pulled tight and Orochimaru's head was reattached backwards. Well, more pests show up. You three wish to be slaughtered as well. The snake Sannin chuckled as he grabbed a hold of his head and with a sickening sound he turned it straight forward. I must admit I am impressed by that technique of yours. Could it have perhaps been inspired by Kumogakure's double lariat technique? Who the hell is this guy? Naruto had a disgusted expression on his face as he reached for his chakra knives. You idiots, we have to get out of here. Sasuke said as he stumbled to his feet. Not a chance. We never run from a fight and this guy must have a scroll. Oh, you mean this? Orochimaru asked as he pulled one out, a heaven scroll. If you want it so bad, come and get it. The Sannin opened his mouth wide and then did something even more disgusting. He wrapped his tongue around it and choked it down. What a sicko. Naruto had just about seen enough. Naruto-san, Lee-san, Hinata-san, we need to get out of here. You no longer have a reason to fight. He ate the scroll. Haku got to his feet as well while holding what looked like a broken nose. Suddenly his face lit up as an idea hit him. The scrolls. We do have a reason to fight though. He hurt our friend, Lee said adamantly as he smiled at Haku, apparently missing what Haku had mumbled. That's right. No one gets away with that. Naruto gave him the thumbs up. Hinata nodded firmly to show her agreement. They weren't backing down. How chivalrous. The Sannin chuckled. Now then, who would like to fight me first? He asked as he reached into his mouth and pulled his sword out. The gouge in his left shoulder was bleeding badly but he didn't seem to mind. How about me? Naruto was already on the snake Sannin, swinging his chakra blades. Orochimaru easily blocked his strike with his sword. What the heck? Naruto shouted in surprise. He had no idea there was a sword out there capable of deflecting his blades of wind. Naruto didn't get to think any more on this as the wind was knocked out of his when the Sannin kneed him in the stomach. Lee charged next but the Sannin easily bypassed him and now stood right in front of Hinata. I figured I owe you one for that attack earlier. He sneered as he brought his sword straight down towards her head. Hinata jumped backwards and dodged the attack with ease. Orochimaru's body then suddenly inflated for a split second before he shot a powerful blast of wind. A futon without any seals? Hinata asked in shock as she was suddenly blasted backwards and sent to the complete other end of the clearing. You bastard! Naruto shouted as he and Lee re-engaged the Sannin. However, they were both beginning to understand and terribly outmatched they truly were. Haku's mind was running in overload as he watched his friends battle. He needed to get the scrolls. And if he remembered right, Hinata had the Heaven Scroll while Sasuke in front of him had the Earth Scroll. Sasuke-san, I apologize for this but I need your scroll. Haku said as he reached in and snagged it before Sasuke could say anything. What are you doing? Orochimaru noticed the movement despite being locked in battle with both Naruto and Lee. He slipped past them and took a step towards Haku. Not so fast. They both shouted as Naruto swung his chakra knives and Lee his nunchaku. Orochimaru easily blocked both of them. Haku didn't waste another moment and quickly dashed towards Hinata in a mad sprint. Hey, where are you going? Sasuke said as he ran after him in a hurry. Orochimaru sneered as he watched them sprint off. He didn't know what they were planning but he had no intention of letting them pull it off. Get out of my way. Orochimaru shouted as he swung his sword in a powerful horizontal swing. Naruto's blades easily stopped it. You won't make it past us. We are the fastest genin in Konoha. Lee said as he swung his nunchaku at the Sannin's head. Orochimaru dodged backwards and then easily stepped past them yet again. I'm a Sannin. You don't have a chance against me. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 3 Narutos appeared right in Orochimaru's way. You brats. Hinata-san. Your scroll. I need your scroll. Haku shouted at the top of his lungs as he continued to sprint towards Hinata. He was almost to her now. Hinata looked confused as she slowly pulled her scroll out. You think I'll let you? Orochimaru shouted as he appeared between the two of them. He had finally broken past Naruto and Lee. I'm growing sick of all these games. I'm going to kill you 4 and then Sasuke-kun will be mine. Orochimaru roared in anger as he swung down at Haku. Haku closed his eyes and waited for the blow but it never came. He looked up in surprise and saw the shimmer of air that meant Naruto's chakra blade was extended. He turned and saw even from far back Naruto had managed to block that strike. Nice going, Naruto-san. Haku whispered thankfully. What a tenacious group. Orochimaru sneered in anger as he knocked Naruto's wind blade to the side. Before he could do anything else the Heaven Scroll flew over his head and Haku snatched it. I thought I said enough. Orochimaru roared as he swung his sword downwards again. Someone help us. Haku screamed at the top of his lungs as he unfurled both scrolls in a cross in front of himself. A cloud of smoke appeared and a loud clapping noise appeared as someone caught Orochimaru's blade before it could strike Haku. The smoke slowly began to clear and everyone's faces brightened as a tall man in green spandex with a shining smile was revealed. You. Orochimaru sneered at the man who was smiling eerily at him. Guy-sensei. All of Guy's students shouted in joy. Hello my youthful students. You all seem to be in a bind already. Guy yelled as he pulled down on Orochimaru's sword while bringing his leg up. He delivered a kick so powerful that Orochimaru was sent flying deep into the forest. Leave everything to me, he said brightly as he turned to them and gave them all a thumbs up. Right, Naruto, Hinata and Lee said instantly. They had no fear there of their sensei losing. Quickly, follow me, Haku said as he began running in the other direction. All 4 genin quickly began to take off after him. As they got farther away, Guy let the huge smile he had on slip away. This isn't going to be easy. He sighed as he rubbed his head and turned back towards the forest that a very angry-looking Orochimaru was walking out of. Normally I wouldn't bother taking my time trying to fight someone like you, but I'm in a very bad mood right now, so I'll make an exception. Orochimaru sneered as he struck the sword he had been holding into the ground. You must have been careless if someone of your stature got injured just by fighting a group of genin. Then again, my students are pretty great. Guy rubbed his chin and smiled as he thought about his students. You can't seriously think you are capable of beating me. A man who relies only on taijutsu doesn't stand a chance. Orochimaru ran through a set of seals in the blink of an eye. Kaiten, Gokaku no Jutsu. He breathed out a powerful fireball that sailed at Guy with great speed. Guy settled into his stance and to Orochimaru's surprise, punched the fireball with such strength that it instantly extinguished. No humor was left on Guy's face at all. You ruined this exam for those young students. As a Jonin sensei of this village, I'll punish you for taking away what should have been a memorable experience in their youth. Orochimaru sneered. He didn't want to admit it, but he had wasted a lot of pointless chakra fighting all those genin. He had no doubt he could still win, but things were probably going to get gritty and he would probably have to wait a while before going after Sasuke again. All the same, he had no intention of letting the man in front of him walk away in hopes of preserving his own health. After all, this man got in the way of his prey and that was unforgivable. Seeming as you are a Sannin, I have no reason to hold back. Guy said as he slipped into a wider stance. First gate. Open. Orochimaru formed another group of seals. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. He slammed his palm on the ground and a giant snake appeared coiled around him. You think that will protect you? Guy vanished and reappeared in front of the snake and delivered a kick so powerful that it instantly popped out of existence. Orochimaru's body was still in the same spot, but something was severely wrong. His mouth had been yanked wide open as if something massive had crawled out of it, and the body now lay motionless on the ground. Guy instinctively took a step back, and it was lucky he did. If he had remained in the same spot a moment longer, then a perfectly healed Orochimaru would have cut him clean in half with his sword. I see you molted to repair your injuries. That must take quite a lot of chakra. Guy observed aloud. Are you sure you have time to be making those remarks? I am a Sannin. You have no chance of beating me. Orochimaru lunged forward and swung his sword. Guy took a quick step back and managed to dodge the blade. Without even giving him a chance to counterattack, Orochimaru stepped in again while swinging his sword. Second gate. Open. With an increased burst of speed thanks to the gate, Guy barely managed to dodge this time. As expected of yourself. Even with one gate open I cannot keep up with you. Guy touched down and launched towards the Sannin, throwing a powerful punch as he did. Orochimaru blocked the strike easily. Not just one gate, but even after two I am far superior. Orochimaru shouted as he shoved Guy's fist back. He then swung his sword and smiled cruelly as it slashed into Guy's torso, only for him to vanish just a moment later. An afterimage. The 50 years of experience as a shinobi took over and Orochimaru jumped backwards, just barely dodging Guy's kick from below aimed at his chin. I guess I'll just step it up another notch. Guy yelled as another surge of power boomed from his body. Third gate. Open. A moment later and he vanished again. He appeared behind Orochimaru already in the midst of a spinning kick. Konoha Senpu. His attack blasted Orochimaru into pieces of mud and Guy realized too late he had been fooled as he saw tiny flicks of paper hidden in the mud. A giant explosion set off that seemingly engulfed the youth-obsessed man. Orochimaru stepped out from behind the tree he had hid behind. For 3 gates even I have to use my incredibly drained chakra on ninjutsu. Fortunately, it didn't take a whole lot of it to win. That's what you think. Orochimaru wasn't able to dodge in time as Guy's fist smashed into the back of his head, launching him forward and bouncing his body back into the crater he had created. Fast. You must have opened the 4th gate as well that time. Orochimaru sneered as he got up and turned to face his enemy only to realize he wasn't there anymore. He once again rolled backwards just in time as Guy's foot smashed into the ground, sending massive pieces of debris flying everywhere. That's right. Guy picked his foot up out of the miniature crater he just made. Energy was visibly swirling around him now and his skin was starting to grow redder in complexion as his blood pumped at amazing speeds. Guess you leave me no choice then. Orochimaru sneered as formed the ram seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A single clone appeared next to the Sannin and they both began running through more seals. Let's see you get out of a Futon and Kaden combination. They both shouted as one exhaled a blast of fire while the other exhaled a blast of wind. The two attacks combined together to form a giant twisting torrent of fire. Fifth gate. Open. Guy, instead of going around the firestorm, charged headfirst into it at such speeds that he actually blasted a hole straight to both Orochimarus. Impossible. The one shouted as Guy cocked his fist back. That word isn't in my vocabulary. Ura Renge. He delivered a punch so powerful that a massive shockwave followed it. Unfortunately, the one he attacked had been the shadow clone. Kuchio's no Jutsu. Orochimaru slammed his palms on the ground, summoning 6 giant snakes this time. They all began to slither at the spandex-clad man. Sixth gate. Open. Guy roared as he kicked off the ground so hard that it splintered apart. He ended up so high in the air he was level with the tree line. The snakes looked up in bated anticipation as they waited for him to couple down. Take this. Asa Kuyaka. Guy began to pump his fists at incredible speeds and with each punch he rained down a ball of fire that smashed into the snakes. After only a few moments of this deadly barrage they were forced to unsummon. You would go this far against me? You, an inferior shinobi who uses no ninjutsu at all. Orochimaru couldn't believe someone had the audacity to challenge him like this. I told you. Your acts have spoiled the exam for these genin. I cannot allow that to go unpunished. Guy crossed his arms as he continued to fall. Green energy began to leak out of every pore on his body as he went yet another step further. Seventh gate. Open. Orochimaru smirked. He had been waiting for this. The only thing he had to do was dodge this next attack and then Guy would be too weak to continue the battle any farther. This battle is mine. Guy cocked his fist back as he began to charge his ultimate attack. The green energy swirled magnificently behind him and took the shape of a tiger head. Here goes nothing, Hirudora. He shouted at the top of his lungs as he swung his fist forward. The giant tiger head appeared to roar as it began descending towards the forest floor. Now, Orochimaru said as he began to form a set of seals to swap himself with a log. He never finished as he felt 2 hands grab onto either ankle. A moment later and everything but the Sannin's head was in the ground and he could no longer finish the seals due to the restricted movement. He looked up in anger to see who would dare do this to him, but what he saw shocked him. Kabuto stood in front of his master, an evil smile on his face and one hand pushing the frames of his glasses up just right so the green energy reflected off of it, making his eyes invisible. Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, success. Have a fun trip in the afterlife. Orochimaru-sama. You bastard. The Sannin realized just now that he had let his surprise cost him. The once giant tiger was now small and compact, but worse, it was just a few meters above him. Howl my youth. Guy yelled as his attack detonated. Orochimaru could only watch as Kabuto's shadow clone popped, leaving him to be engulfed in the attack. The explosion from Guy's attack was so massive that it doubled the size of the crater they had already been fighting in, and all the trees in the immediate vicinity were bowled over with loud crashes. The shockwave kept Guy well afloat until the attack finally ceased and he landed heavily on the ground. The green energy around him still shining brightly. You think this is over? Orochimaru's body lay twisted and crippled on the ground. A pool of blood had already formed beneath his body. Guy merely looked down at him silently. You may have killed me. Orochimaru coughed and blood went flying. His breath was hard and ragged and his voice was barely more than a whisper. But this wasn't your victory. I'll come back, and this village, it will burn to the ground. Orochimaru attempted to lean forward but he failed miserably. Moments later, his breathing finally stopped. Guy looked down with many mixed emotions at the corpse that had once been Orochimaru. He had done it, killed someone trained by the Hokage himself. It wasn't alone though. The genin that had all battled him before had managed to do incredibly well. There was also that person that had just shown up. The same person that was slowly approaching, while clapping his hands in a slow, loud manner. That was an incredible attack, sensei. the silver-haired man said as he slowly walked up to the body. Guy eyed him carefully for a few moments in silence. Something wasn't right about this kid. He didn't bother to show his suspicion. Instead he put his hands on his hips and laughed loudly. I appreciate your help. What is your name? I would like to give credit to you as well for having been a part of this great victory for the village. He extended a thumbs up to the genin. Yakushi Kabuto. I am just honored to have been of service. The genin said as he bowed low to the man. Kabuto-kun. Please do not find this rude, but I have but a few mere moments left before my energy runs out. I must use it to go report to Hokage-sama at once. Guy said as he turned around. Oh no, please hurry. I am sure he will be most excited by this news. Kabuto smiled happily at Guy. The youthful man nodded as he vanished. He wasn't sure how he knew it, but something about that kid was trouble. Kabuto's smile slowly transformed to one of pure evil as he walked forward. You won't be needing this, he said as he reached down into Orochimaru's open body and pulled the bloody scroll free. Unfortunately, this gives me 2 heaven scrolls. Kabuto sighed as he pocketed it. Oh yes, I just realized. I'm the leader of Otogakur now. Kabuto's evil grin remained plastered on his face. Time to really shake things up.